The fourth round of Fanatec GT's 5-round European Sprint Series brings a 27-car field to Misano on Italy's Adriatic coast. The championship battle sees the leaders separated by just half a point. Team WRT's Charles Weerts and Dries Van Tor have won 5 of the past 6 races at the circuit. Marco Simoncelli in their Audi, but Raffaele Marcello and Timo Bogoslawski had 3 wins this year in their Acodis ASP Mercedes, to the Belgian pair's 2, so it's all to play for. Italian pairing Mattia Drudi and Luca Giotto have impressed in their Trezor by Car Collection Audi, but Giotto has COVID and is replaced this weekend by 16-year-old Lorenzo Patrese, and they're hoping that they can improve on Drudi's 5th place at Manicourt, their best result this year, and perhaps even take a podium.
This weekend to get, I think, our maiden podium, we need to be really consistent. I think we did quite a good job this year so far. We've been really consistent. We always missed something to be in the top 3. I think we showed great performance, both me, Luca, Lorenzo here with me this weekend. We just need to execute everything perfectly. We showed already that we can be there in qualifying. We have a good race pace. We have always nice freedom. We just have to do everything together.
Obviously, it's my first sprint race. It's also my first year in GT racing, so it's quite a bit of a change from last year. I'm finding the sprint format pretty good. The races are short but very intense, and yeah, we will see how I will get on this weekend.
Valentino Rossi will be adding thousands to the ranks of spectators in his home country, where his fans will be sure to cheer his every move as he and his teammate Frederick Vervisch look to improve on their season best finish so far of 8th place at Brands Hatch.
The level is very high, and we have a lot of drivers that are so fast. And also these cars are different to drive, especially because you need to use a different line, because more or less you are always out of the track. So you have to cut a lot inside, to go a lot outside, and for me, for my experience, comparing with the bike, is like a different track, you know. So it's not easy about this, but I need to learn. I need to improve. My car is very good. I am in a good team, also with the good teammates that can teach me a lot, and we see.
Dynamic Motorsports Porsches have yet to shine in this year's sprint races, but Giorgio Roda will be hoping he can end that here at Misano.
For me, it's like my home race because we raced in Imola, so in Italy for the first race in Endurance, but for the sprint it's the only track in Italy, so it's like a home race. So I would say that I know Misano really well. I've done the Italian GT here and actually won the race in 2020, and I'm really happy to be here. It's one of my favorite tracks in Italy. So.
A new entry for this race on Imperiale Racing's home ground brings a Lamborghini Huracan for Italian racer Alberto Di Folco and teammate Albert Costa.
Yeah, it is the home race for me. I'm Italian, and for sure it's easier for me compared to the others. I have pole position here before in Misano, so for sure I have a little bit more experience, so we will see. I know WRT, all the other teams are really strong, also the lineup, but you know, Imperiale is getting very good, and also with the help of Lamborghini, we'll be there soon.
Rome-born Eddie Cheever knows Misano well from his days of racing in Formula 3 and GT, and he won here in Pro-Am class, but that was in a Ferrari, and this year he's sharing a Mercedes.
It's a home race for me, obviously with Valentino Rossi living, I think, really next door. It's going to be, I hope, amazing with a lot of fans, because Italian fans are one of the best in the world. It's going to be a really hot race. I really like the track. It's very easy to lose 2-3 tenths a lap, and that makes a humongous difference since we're all so close. So yeah, cross fingers, it's going to be a good one.
Cedric Spirazzuoli is all alone at the head of the Pro-Am points table after AF Corsa teammate Ugo Delacour missed the race at Zandvoort. But Delacour is sure there'll be a really serious challenge here on the Twist of Misano.
I couldn't race last weekend, so Cedric raced with Stefano, and they got a nice win, and he made some march from to the championship, and now we hope to reproduce the same thing this weekend, even if there is more competition because there is a new car. So yeah, we have good hope. So my favorite part of the circuit is sector 3 because I really like the flow you have to get, and with the banking thing, and when you get it, it feels really nice.
Fanatec GT Sprint Pro-Am champions together in 2019, Andrea Bertolini and Louis Machiels have yet to take a class win together this year in their AF Corsa Ferrari. but we're winners here in 2020, so start with great expectations at Misano.
You know, the weather is beautiful, we are close to the sea, and of course Valentino as well is here. You can imagine how many people they will come tomorrow. Yeah, it's good. I enjoy. I did many kilometers here for testing, and yeah, I like a lot. And yeah, the point is that it's so important and crucial, the qualifying, because it's not relatively easy to overtake other cars. So we will see, but the battle, it will be always like on top.
So let's explain how the Sprint Cup works. There are 5 rounds of the Fanatec GT Sprint Series this season, with a pair of races at each. Each of these lasts an hour apiece, and each car is shared by 2 drivers who swap over in the mandatory pit stop that must be made in the pit stop window between 25 and 35 minutes into the race. As well as the drivers, all 4 tyres must be changed, and vitally, there is no minimum pit stop time, so a well-drilled crew can really help its drivers gain time and perhaps even a position or 2. All the cars are run to GT3 regulations, with the field divided into 3 classes by driver grading. The Pro class is packed with manufacturer-backed drivers, and race winners are most likely to come from here. The Silver Cup is for younger, up-and-coming drivers with less experience. And then there's Pro-Am, which is just that, an amateur driver partnered with a pro. This weekend there will be 27 cars on the grid from 6 manufacturers. Audi, Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, Mercedes and Porsche, all aiming to be first after 60 minutes of high-octane action in the heat of Misano. Let's take a look at the points, combined after the opening 2 endurance round and 3 sprint rounds. And at the moment, coming into Misano, it's Mercedes leading the way.
It is super warm down on the grid. Well, it's actually, frankly, very hot indeed at Misano. The grid is packed, 27 cars down there. The drivers, the teams, all milling around. Well, here's the grid. So it's Charles Weerts on pole position, Vincent Abril alongside in the JP Motorsport McLaren. Then a fantastic job. He was really struggling in qualifying, but then suddenly went up to 3rd place. Championship challenger Timo Bogoslawski, Lorenzo Patrese at 16 alongside. Astonishing. Then come the bank of Audi, Simon Gachet and Thomas Neubauer, the top runner in the Silver Cup class. Pierre-Alexandre Jean, already an outright winner, though he's in the Silver Cup class. Nicolas Baer, Jean-Baptiste Simonau, they formed the 5th row. Peter Shothouse, yet another Audi. And then Sky Tempesta Racing, not in a Ferrari anymore, but a Mercedes, finding their form. Alex Arca and Casper Stevenson, so young guns together on row number 7. Valentino Rossi, Valle, the 46 flags waving all around the circuits with Igor Volilko. Matteo Di Gusto making his debut in the series, starts 17th for LP Racing. Adrian Delina alongside. Then Miguel Ramos, top runner in the Pro-Am Cup, starts 19th. Giorgio Roda looking for a good result on home ground. The second of the McLarens from JP Motorsport in 21st. Ugo Delacour, AF Corsa Ferrari, immediately ahead of a sister car. That's in the Pro-Am Cup of Louis Machils with Victor Maldonado starting 23rd. Alberto Di Falco as the Imperiale Racing starts 25th. Expect improvement from him. Danny Crowson with no time allowed. Jules Gougnot at the very back, looking to make a charge. Let's see how he fares. But John, it's all eyes on the front of the grid. Those first 3 cars. Charles Weerts, Vincent Abril and Timo Bogoslawski, with the wild card being Lorenzo Patrese, 16-year-old and starting 4th. 2 Audis in the top 4. It looks like an Audi circuit. Can the Mercedes or McLaren crews break the form? Here we go into turn 16. Then they'll get all eyes on the red lights on the starting gantry. There they are up ahead. 16 turns, just over 4 kilometres. The lights are going to go green. And then again, another quick flick like this morning's race, and straight into the lead goes Charles Weerts. That's the first battle won for him. Looks as though Bogoslawski might try and go up the inside of Abril. Doesn't quite make it work into turn 1. Neat and tidy. 1 car delayed in the middle order, but up front, all looking pretty clean and tidy. It was one of the Attento Audis that lost momentum, but nice clean start there by the front row starters. Looks like a good start from Pierre-Alexandre Jean. I guess he's gained a place possibly already, being challenged up the inside by it. He's gone round the outside of Patrese.
Yes, Thomas Neubauer is the one that looks to have done the inside, and well, as that Jules Gougnot all over the racetrack and off the racetrack as we dive down into turn 8. So consolidation from Charles Weerts. He looked like he was a little bit further ahead then Vincent Arbril, or put it this way, Vincent Arbril didn't get alongside. Oh, contact down the turn 8.
Oh, well, we've got one of the Ferraris
and
and one of the Santalot cars I talked about. We might need a safety car and contact, 8 and debris everywhere. If the cars had clashed and gone off the circuit, it wouldn't be so bad, but they've certainly covered the track.
Safety car immediately deployed because that's traffic. Well, 3 cars involved. Look, coming down on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see damage to the right front of that RD as well. So that is the 99 attempt to. So that is Alex Alka who got involved. So 3 cars involved in that incident, and that car will go straight into the pit lane, and that's where it's going to stay.
Now let's ride on board at the start with Pierre-Alexandre Jean. It's very busy now. This is the view for Eddie Cheever, waiting for those lights to go green. Finally they do. He gets the power down in the Mercedes and gains at least 1 row's worth of position. So down into turn 8 we come. Okay, the Sky Tempesta car spun the Audi around, and then the Ferrari clearly going to come into the back of it any second now. Oh, that was a heavy impact for Hugo Delacourt. Nowhere left to go, and you can see the debris everywhere. So take a look. That's Eddie Cheever going up the inside, spinning Aurélien Panis around.
But here we go. Race back underway, and I'm going to lap 4.
Right, now let's see what can happen. Charles Wirtz, all the drivers have been trying to keep heat in the tyres. There's plenty of heat in their cockpits. Where's the challenge going to come from? It's very juicy from about 3rd place backwards. So we've got Thomas Neubauer trying to press onto the tail of Timo Bogoslawski, who doesn't want him there. We're riding the car in 5th place, the Ferrari of Pierre-Alexandre Jean, as he chases down Neubauer in the battle to see who's going to be top in the Silver Cup class. Neat and tidy. Lorenzo Patrese still hanging on. He's got Simon Gachet, his teammate, just in front. The 2 Audis from Tracer by Car Collection, much neater. And of course, always, John, after a safety car, they're 1 by 1 rather than 2 by 2 through the first few corners.
I mean, I'm looking down the inside, just having a go. Thomas Neubauer looking at Timo Bogoslawski in the 89 Mercedes side by side. This is where things can get a little bit tense because the car on the inside is going to run up the racetrack. The car on the outside really hasn't got nowhere else to go but the off racetrack line and up into another position. So that's the 33.
Yeah.
26. So just a small maneuver. That's Simonar and Nicolas Bayard swapping positions. But look, Jules Gounon, here he comes down the inside. Can he carry that momentum side by side as the McLaren and the... Well, I'm just watching the Lamborghini. So Gounon needs not to be... He's going to go the long way around the outside in turn 14. Can he make it stick? Wow, I wouldn't expect that one to come out of the blue, but that is a great effort indeed.
Yeah, well,
what a pass.
That is Patrick Krapinski just not able to live with Jules Gounon's utter bravado. So another place gained by Jules, but it only moves him up to about, I think that should be 20th, 19th place. He gained 2 places on that lap. Picking off another one, goes past Matteo Di Giusto. Sorry, no, that's the 663. So that's Alberto Di Falco, who's hanging on out of turn 3. Will he be in the right position for turn 4? Not for want of trying.
He's got to make the undercut, or otherwise he's going to be hung out on the outside and allow the McLaren to make that pass. But he seems to like the outside line because he's had success, and now he's got the inside coming through turn 6, then the curve of turn 7, and contact. Dodgem cars run, goes the Lamborghini, and that's going to clobber one of the corner markers. So fortunately no specific damage. Oh, and the McLaren has got to cut down right rear tyre as a consequence of that contact. So there was residual damage, and there you see the McLaren going to have to pull off. But if he doesn't, it'll be a very, very slow trip back to the pit lane.
Yeah, well, the question was, the damage done on the first shoulder barge or the second? That side-by-side contact out of turn 6. Both cars beyond track limits, and being the outer one of the pair, it's hardly surprising Alberto Di Falco was spun around. That one, no doubt, will be under investigation. So Gounon goes through, and also cutting across the curves came Krapinski. 2 clashes, and Eddie Cheever says, thank you, I'm coming
I think Krapinski will be the one who'll get a penalty or some recognition because he actually cut across the inside of turn 6 and just ran wide into the side of the McLaren, and not only biffs it once, he biffs it the second time just to make sure he felt the first one. As we look at Charles Wirtz, now he's got a comfortable lead, 2.8 seconds ahead of the McLaren.
Yeah, we haven't seen the McLaren's fabled speed in a straight line out of turn 10. Charles Wirtz clearly got a very, very well set up car, courtesy of Team WRT. We've had a change of position, have we, behind? No, Peter Schotthorst, sorry, he's running in 8. Jim Betsy Simonauer and Nicola Baird, they're at the back of that Audi train. But actually, Lorenzo Patrese is just doing a good job in front of them.
And Jules Gounon again makes room up through the field. So let's see where these overtake.
Now that's why Patrese has dropped back. I had him on my timing screen but couldn't see him. He was given a clatter there. Peter Schotthorst, the Dutch racer, coming through.
down the inside. Well, that is Simon Gachet has finally found a way around Pierre-Alexandre Jean. Now, they are in a different race, nevertheless. I think Pierre-Alexandre Jean was looking to get a strong overall position, but wisely, arguably, he's decided, well, I'll fight, but I'm not going to put myself into jeopardy. I let Simon Gachet go. Well, there we go. Who's going to be in first?
Yeah, well, it's Swiss badge on the belt. It's Raffaele Marciello, who, you know, raced with an Italian flag, and then he thought, hold on, I was brought up, or brung up, as he said, in Zurich, and
there he
Swiss,
goes,
so
the cuts,
Swiss.
and also Neubar follows him in. So interestingly, WRT are doing the very same thing as Akudis ASP.
But so did Abril. He dived in as early as possible as well to change to Dennis Lintz. So Charles Wirtz's lead, which was going to be about 5 seconds. It was, let's say, 4.8 seconds to the good. That will continue to stretch. Now 8.8 seconds because another Audi is into second place, Simon Gachet, but very close in the pits, John.
You've got the Audi coming in directly behind the Mercedes. Your two different teams doing pit stops. There's the Mercedes JP Motorsport. But if that Audi gets out ahead of the Mercedes, then that will be a much more challenging race for Raffaele Marciello to find a way around the Gulf sponsored, and that'll be Benjamin Goethe, maybe not as experienced as Thomas Neubar, but nevertheless it's not easy, as you know, as you can see, finding a way around. Already Valentino Rossi has been caught up on this group of cars, not really able to make a wholehearted attempt to move down the inside. Had a little look going down the inside momentarily on Casper Stevenson, but no, he knew he couldn't make a stick. Now up the inside, no, even Jules Gugnon's got to be patient. Best chance is going to come now. Good exit out of turn 10 and put himself into a position to try and get close to the back of that Lamborghini of De Falco.
Okay, the cars from third and fourth emerge in the same
status
order.
quo, indeed.
Status quo has been preserved, and the Ferrari that came in as well. Just look at the front left corner of that Audi. I sense the bodywork has been rubbing at certain points. Maybe my eyes.
Oh, you're right. There's something under braking. You can see there's tyre rub on that, so that's not going to go very far. I'm sure Fedorovic will have picked that up,
because he's only just taken over the car. It's almost as though there's a ball of rubber that's stuck between wheel and wheel arch, or is it bodywork going back? I can't see any bodywork being bent.
I suspect that's bodywork rubbing on the outside shoulder of the left front tyre, but whatever it's doing is getting worse and worse. So if Fedorovic doesn't voluntarily come in, I suspect that, well, look, you can see how wide he ran in turn 13 into 14. There's something clearly not right at the left front of the car. Whether that is a mechanical issue that's causing that, or whether it's a bodywork rub. So Vervish into the pits immediately, having just taken the car over.
Yet another pit visit for the Sky Tempesta Racing Mercedes. Chris Froggatt gets on board, and unfortunately they've had that extra stop for a puncture to be repaired after possibly triggering all of that what happened at turn 8 on the opening lap.
So we've got 3 cars yet to make that one and only pit stop for the afternoon. They are Gugno, Maldonado, and...
Well, Cheever's just making his stop
so
now.
There's
That's
only 2 cars now that need to make the pit stop, so Cheever. And there is the race leader momentarily, although he'll drop down the field once he comes in, but he's got a great team behind him. They will turn that 88 Mercedes round. Jim Plow will get behind the wheel and continue the progress, and their target's got to be unquestionably a top 10 finish to get some points out of what has been a confusing and understandably frustrating afternoon for both Jules Gugnon and Jim Plow because of that administrative issue.
Yeah, bit of a snafu, nothing to do with the drivers. Jules has done all he's done. But what was so sensible was, in his charge, slightly cautious, pressing wherever he could, but also the team have just said, now you should have clear track for a handful of laps. Go and make hay. He can't possibly squeeze another lap in, so into the pit lane as fast as he can. He'll get to the white line, and you can feel the speed coming down, hopefully to pit minimum. The car that really lost out is the gold and black McLaren. 1-1-2, started on the front row, ran second early on, but that slow pit stop, it was about 12, 13 seconds slower than all the cars around it, means that Dennis Lind is having to play fight back, and fight back he is, up to 9th, and I think that should move him actually up to 7th overall when the last 2 cars have pitted.
And there you can see just exiting out of the pit lane, the very, very long pit lane exit, so that is the 88 Mercedes, so it's going to slot in. And it just gets...
He's in front of one of the trays of my car collection Audis, and if that is the 12 car, which it is, so that puts him into 13th position ahead of Matthias Drudi.
And there we are, the 46 is out. Now that was the damage we saw coming down the straight. And obviously, they may be in a short-term fix, but nothing long-term, and that car's in the garage out of the race.
The car limping in is the Sky Tempesta Mercedes. This is not racing speed, more problems. Chris Froggatt took it over from Eddie Cheever.
And that's down at turn 1 and turn 2.
Let's have a look. He's accelerating into the final corner, or slowing into the final corner.
This is turn 16. Oh, crash, bang, wallop, and there's something on that right front didn't seem correct.
Well, let's talk about the gap between first and second. We mentioned it was 5.2 seconds, then 5.3. It's now 5.8 seconds. So Raffaele Marcello, push as he does, he's got no answer to the pace of Dries van Tor. And at this rate, Dries is heading, forget this, his 6th win in the last 7 runnings of an event here. Benjamin Goethe may be able to hang on to 3rd place. He's leading the Silver Cup. He doesn't need to fight the car behind, but wants desperately to finish on the podium. His best result so far this year, a 10th. He wants that 3rd place. But in the team, they know, hold on, you're running in the Silver Cup. You can let Christopher Haas through. Christopher has a good decade more experience in Audis than you do. And he's certainly hunting, but by small increments. He's got up close. Now he's got to find a passing move.
So this is an international sort of Audi family battle. WRT on the one hand, and then Treasure by Car Collection. And so there's a load of status points up for grabs. So the Golf liveried WRT Audi does want to stay ahead of the red and white Treasure by Car Collection. And a good little battle it is. And Benjamin Goethe, who has taken a period of time to get to a level where he can drive at this, the front end of a field and do it under pressure, he's growing up.
Right, this is the point in the race where drivers have their track limits transgression pointed out. The last warning for car 159, that's one of the Garage 59 McLarens. It's Ethan Simeone, he's in 16th place overall. But any number of these top drivers, as they get more desperate, as their tyre performance goes away, you can see the cars running off the circuit at that point as well. So warnings can come and they lead to penalties. This could yet shuffle the order.
Well, certainly looking at the McLaren, and I mean, the way that it took the inside of the corner, Dennis Lind, as opposed to Ulisses de Pauw. Has de Pauw got a problem? He does. Either he's got a problem or he decided what's going on. It almost looks like the field, the entire field is slowing down. Just that camera angle looked.
Yeah, it was really foreshortening,
distorted the speed that we had been seeing.
But going through turn 6, much tighter line taken by the McLaren driver, Dennis Lind. And maybe at that point, maybe just slightly distracted. Ulisses de Pauw ran a little wide, but is he losing more places?
Well, I noticed it in turn 4 as well. The Ferrari did not look to be quite as au point as it had been on previous laps. Now, Ferrari under pressure from the 26 of
Lucas Lesser, the Swiss driver who stepped in this weekend to join the Sansalot crew, pushing very hard indeed. And a little bit of a gap. And then comes that train, of course, with Thomas Drouet, Jim Plyer, his teammate, fighting over the last position. Car, unsafe release and a slow pit stop. Well, that's insult to injury for Dennis Lind. So this is a car that was second up to the pit stops. Its pit stop was more than a dozen seconds down on all of those around it, and capped that under investigation for an unsafe relief. Oh, dearie me.
Talking about kicking somebody when they're down. I mean, you had a poor pit stop and now you're getting clobbered with an unsafe release. Well, an unsafe release is a 10-second penalty will be added to the car's race time.
10 seconds, that would drop him down behind, I think, possibly even Albert Costa in the 663 Lamborghini from Imperiale Racing. All Dennis can do is just press on, do what he can in the remaining 6 minutes of this race. But it does mean the Gounon Plyer car is now up into the points. They won't be satisfied with 10th, but starting 27th, it's not too bad. Out front, though, Dries van Tor, 5.7 seconds the good over Raffaele Marcello. And a challenge for that 6th place. And there is something wrong with that
There's something not right with the Ferrari, because, I mean, again, you can see Ulisses de Pauw was having to be very defensive into turn 8. He got overtaken there 1 lap ago, and I just think the grip the Ferrari has vanished because it happened very quickly. So nothing that Ulisses de Pauw has been able to do to consolidate his positions, and he's lost 2 positions in the space of 2 laps. Car 89 black, quite disrespecting track limits. So that's Jim Plyer. No,
it's Marcello.
Right, Marcello, I think, right, 88 is the Jim Plyer. 89, so Raffaele Marcello, the gap has gone up to just a fraction over 6 seconds, and there we are on board with the Italian, and he's been pinged for track limit abuses. So you can see just he comes out of the exit of turn 10, he runs to the limit. I don't know where, probably, well, maybe it was down at the very end of the straight where cars have the habit of using maybe more of the racetrack than is intended.
We're on to the final lap.
So Team WRT could be heading for victory outright. That looks on the cards for Dries van Tor. Will they get victory in the Silver Cup? It's there. Yes, they will, providing there's no clash between Thomas Neubauer, who's holding on desperately to third place. Third place won't give him victory in the class per se, because he's already got that in the bag. But it's a matter of pride. Will that first podium come his way? There's a Lamborghini up ahead. They shouldn't catch this on the final lap. Haven't mentioned the gap between first and second, 6.4 seconds. So it's neither really come up nor down. And that is status quo between first and second, between Van Tor and Marcello. But this battle behind them, another 10 seconds back down the track, is absolute fireworks. Benjamin Goethe and Christopher Haase.
So the chance for Haase to make a pass, in my opinion, now has gone. This is going to be the part of the circuit that I felt that if he was going to make something, would have been into turn 8, but it looks as if he's not had the pace to do so. And now up into turn 9 and then turn 10. Runs close up to the rear of Benjamin Goethe as he comes through the exit of turn 10. But then the acceleration as we go back to race leader, Dries van Tor.
Right, bear in mind, looking at that top 10 or the results on the left-hand side, that's the running order at the moment. Dennis Lint in the 112 McLaren in 7th place has got a 10-second penalty to be added at the end of the race. That'll drop it through. This is turn 15, now turn 16. The checkered flag is unfurled and it's being waved. That makes it 6 wins in the last 7 races for this pairing of the driver who finished there, Dries van Tor, and the driver who started, Charles Weert. Second place, the gap, it's immaterial, but it was more than comfortable. Both cars backing off as they ran to the finish. But third place is going to go to Benjamin Goethe. What a fabulous result for him. He'll take the Silver Cup honours. And behind him, Christopher Haase decides he's Farmer Haase. He's become Jeremy Clarkson. Off the track he goes. It matters not. So double celebrations at WRT.
Yeah, you can see the joy and, well, in fact, the entire team, even Fred Vervies, whose car we're looking at sitting in the... There's got a Parc Fermé sticker on the windscreen, of course. So that's going to be all processed, but Charles Weert and Dries van Tor did what I would call a very workmanlike and professional job, you know, taking the pole position, translating it into a victory, and a good run from Timo Boguslawski and Raffaele Marcello, but they had no answer. They didn't have any more pace. They could match the Audi's pace, but they couldn't exceed it.
So 5.6 seconds to the good. Charles Weert and Dries van Tor, what an astonishing record at Misano. Second place, Timo Boguslawski, who started third, and Raffaele Marcello, who tigered forward as ever. Then Thomas Neubauer and Benjamin Goethe, winners in the Silver Cup class, with their rivals in 7th, 8th and 9th position. So that was a fabulous first podium for the French-Danish combination. Simon Gachet and Christopher Haase chased hard to come home fourth. Peter Schotthorst and Dennis Marshall worked their way up to 5th for Attempto Racing, and Jean-Baptiste Simonauer and Christopher Mies in yet another Team WRT Audi, rounding out the top 6.
Charles and Dries, a fantastic win for you. You look really hot, Dries. Was that tough?
Well, at the end it was getting a bit too hot, but other than that it was, you know, it's always, you know, we always, I mean, our main competitor is the Mercedes, and every time you know it's me against Marcello, it's always, you know, you always have to give everything. So it was tough in the beginning to try and keep the gap the same, but then clearly soon we found out that we had similar pace, so I could, you know, still push, but I knew he wouldn't catch, and that was just giving me a bit of an easier time. So yeah, happy.
Well done, fantastic. And Charles, of course, you pitted slightly later than some of the others in the field, and that seemed to be key.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we had a good start, then good restart also. With all the debris on the track, it was not so easy to avoid. But then, yeah, I just went, and the car was just incredible to drive. So again, perfect job by the whole team. So thanks a lot to them. And yeah, as Dries said, it looks like the 89 always stays with us. So it's difficult to really make a gap, but at least we got a win, and that's really a good thing.
Congratulations, well done.
Well, John, you can see they worked hard and bringing it home. Dries van Tor, he knew he couldn't back off. He didn't back off, but he just knew that gap was stabilising at around 5 seconds, and he sat on it.
Well, all he had to do was run his own lap times off the time that he was being given from what Mercedes was doing, Raffaele Marcello. So he didn't need to extend that gap. But the only downside would have been, had there been a full course yellow, then the subsequent safety car, that would have brought the field back to a much closer time.
So it's a hot day's work here at Misano. They've got to do it all over again tomorrow, but all you can do is win what's put in front of you. Welcome to the circuit. Marco Simoncelli at Misano, 4 kilometres long, 16 turns. It's tight, it's twisty, and most importantly, John Watson, this weekend it's very, very hot indeed. Tyre life is almost as critical as grid position. Look at the grandstands, though. They're here for Valle, for Valentino Rossi. As the band plays, the grandstand opposite pits absolutely filled with people in the bright yellow hats, the 46 number and the T-shirts as well. They're looking for glory. And let's go down and hear from Valentino Rossi. He's down on the grid. He's with Gemma. He's going to give us his thoughts about racing on 4 wheels.
Valle, it's great to see you once again in your home circuit. Literally, you live 20 minutes away, well equipped for the heat as well with your ice vest. Let's just ask first of all, how are you enjoying your weekend?
It's great because really this time I have a lot of fans, and it's a great moment for say ciao to everybody, for make some picture, for make some autograph. We have to fight a lot with the temperature because all the weekend is incredibly hot, but we will see. Yesterday I think that we have a good potential for arriving in the top 10, but I did a mistake in the box, unfortunately. Today we start in a better position on the grid. Fred will start, so we will try another time.
It's really nice to see actually throughout the season the progression that you're making with learning the car, learning the tracks, and the difference you've had to learn from 2 wheels to 4.
Yes, the level is very high, and you have a lot of drivers that are so fast, and that they have a good experience with these cars, and they know how to bring at the limit from the first lap. So it's not easy, but I try to learn. I try to learn from Fred, from the data. I try to make step by step, and it's a great challenge.
It certainly is. Thank you very much. Have a great race. Let's just grab Fred for 1 second. Fred, if we just grab you for a second, the partnership between you has clearly been evolving and working really well.
Yeah, we're getting along quite well, I think. No, but he's doing a great job. So, like he said, he's learning very fast, but championship is very high level, and yeah, we have same struggles, let's say, and same good things. So yeah, we're helping each other, and yeah, we're in this together. So we will get out together. So.
And the objective at the start here?
Yeah, he gave me some advice because he did a very good start yesterday. So yeah, I have the good points from him, and we can only go forward from here, not backward, please.
We heard. Thank you very much. Have a great race, boys.
Thank you.
Well, John, great humour, good relationship there. Fred Vavish alongside Valentino Rossi. And Rossi has added, well, it's a hot day here, he's added thousands to the gates. They've been thronging the paddock, but also going to mark their points in the stand, make sure they've got the shade. It's a hot day, track temperature 33 degrees, track air temperature 31.5. Not as hot as Friday, but it's still going to be pretty beastly in those cockpits.
Yeah, you just get so much heat soak comes into the car, aside from what the ambient and track temperatures may be. And while you may have a cool suit under your race suit, the ambient temperature in the cockpit, albeit the drivers are on it between 25 and 35 minutes, so it's not as if you're doing a 24-hour race. Nevertheless, these are extreme temperatures, and everybody, I think, in the pit lane is looking for shade really wherever they can. When you walk down the middle of the pit lane behind the actual pit boxes, there's a big wide open space in the middle where people are avoiding that where the sun is at its hottest. So yes, tough conditions, but these are well prepared and trained drivers, and for Valentino, of course, coming to his home circuit, a place he knows and loves and had enormous success here with MotoGP, he wants to deliver for A, himself, B, the fans, but also for his arranged marriage partner, Fred Vavish.
Exactly, and the banter is going on. Right, Raffaele Marcello was starting, and of course his chief rivals are Dries van Toor and Charles Weerts. And let's go down and hear from the all-Belgian duo who'll be starting from pole position. They are with Gemma.
Boys, you enjoying the entertainment down here on the grid? It's all for you on the front spot.
Yeah, for sure. It's great music to get into the spirit of the race now. But anyway, yeah, it's great atmosphere here with all the fans for Valentino. It's really nice to see so many people, and yeah, with the nice music, it's yeah, hopefully we can have as nice race as the music is. Let's see.
That would be lovely, wouldn't it? Dries, what's the strategy at the start?
Check out.
And then play golf at the end of the race?
No, go home probably. Yeah, no, just try to have a good start and, you know, get my head down and try to pull a gap.
The temperatures are soaring, and it's going to be tough in the car. I think 30-minute stint is about the limit, right?
Yeah, well, we have to see when the pit window opens in our window, but I think we will do a short first one, just because undercuts here are quite strong. So let's see. I mean, a lot can happen. So.
Very relaxed. Thank you very much, both of you. Have a great race.
So what message do you get from Dries van Thor there? He's actually angling for the shorter stint. As long as he can do his job, check out as he calls it, get into first position or retain that pole position lead into the first corner, and then he should control it. But he was really strong in qualifying, grabbed that pole position. But it really is Audi country. Christopher Mies will be starting at the sharp end of the grid. In fact, he's right behind another Team WRT car. Shares with Jean-Baptiste Simonard, but it's 3 Audis in the front 3 positions, and then the Bogoslawski, Marcello,
it
Mercedes.
gives Audi a very powerful starting position, 3 cars in the top 4. And of course, Dries van Thor will be in pole position on the right going down into turn 1, so he's got the advantage. Anybody who wants to make it in ahead of him has got to go the long way around, and that then gets you into jeopardy because the corner cuts back for turn 2. So I think Dries van Thor's got it pretty much in control. We saw Charles Weerts make an excellent start yesterday, front pole position, and in a sense they were never challenged thereafter. Timo Bogoslawski, you can see wearing again one of these jackets which are padded ice jackets just to keep the core body temperature down as much as possible.
Exactly so. Right, let's just hear from Simon Gachet outside of the front row. Christopher Haas will be starting the number 11 Audi, and Gemma has caught up, but certainly we're looking at the car that's starting in 4th. But let's hear from the crew in 2nd.
Simon, obviously the car seems to be on great form, as do yourself and Christopher. That was an incredible qualifying session this morning. Front row now for the race.
Yeah, this is true. We did a super job this morning, so we need to take some points during the race, and let's see. The car feels really strong this weekend, so this is really cool for the team and for us with Aze.
Just down to the strategy now in the race, perhaps.
Yeah, the team need to be a strong pit stop, and let's see after for the second run for me.
On croise les doigts. Keep our fingers crossed. Thank you.
So the grid, the cars will start to be revealed as the crews pull away, but you can just sense, you can hear the noise from that grandstand opposite the pits. They only have eyes for one car. Their car's starting in 12th place on this 25-car grid. That is the number 46 car with Fred Vervisch starting and Valentino Rossi hopefully getting into the top 10. The fans are chanting. Yesterday, John, we had 27 cars. We lost 2 of them with the first lap accident. Unfortunately, the AF Corsa 21 Ferrari of Cedric Sperazarelli and Ugo Delacour, and also Aurelien Panis and Patrick Niederhauser, the number 25 Sansalok Audi. That was spun around by Eddie Cheever, and then eventually as the pack split around it, the Delacour, Sperazarelli, Ferrari had nowhere to go. They're both eliminated, and because of that incident, a 3-place grid penalty puts the car that Chris Froggatt will start and Eddie Cheever will finish in to the very back position on the grid. Another car that got a grid penalty was the number 111 Pro-Am JP Motorsports McLaren. Patrick Kropinski took a bit of a clatter against one of the Lamborghinis. That was Danny Kroos. So he's moved back 3 places.
Yeah, that was that was more avoidable. The incident that occurred in turn 8 on the opening lap was a sort of the melee of cars all trying to get in to the one particular part of the racetrack, and it ended up with Eddie Cheever tipping the back of one of the Audis, which then set off a process. And then there's a gap of about 2 seconds till the Ferrari rocks up and blindsided and has nowhere to go, and off it sets, and wheels and bodywork and everything scattered across the racetrack, quickly all cleared away, but damage to those cars too great to be repaired overnight to get them back onto this afternoon's grid.
Well, it's a big shame. Another car that's been pushed back down on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the white, blue and black Dynamic Motorsport Porsche. That's car number 56, and that had all its times for qualifying this morning taken away because the car was pushed back into the pit garage, which is a no-no in qualifying.
Yeah, the reason why the times were disallowed is because in qualifying the cars must stay on the pit lane. There's always a concern if a car goes back into the garage that strange things might happen. Normally they happen in the night, but they could happen in the morning when qualifying is going on as well. Not suggesting that that would have happened, but the rule is there to prevent any options taking place. So unfortunately, Dynamic Motorsport and that 54 Porsche shuffled all the way back to the rear of the grid. The 56 Dynamic Motorsport pushed all the way back to the back of the grid. And, well, it's going to be a long afternoon trying to make progress because, as we saw yesterday, very competitive field of cars, not a great deal of easy places to make an overtake, and contact is likely to occur, particularly in the opening laps.
Yeah, and what we tend to see around here, around the 16 turns of the lap, it's generally down to a driver making a mistake that offers an opportunity to the driver behind. And now let's just talk tyre degradation before the cars go off. They've got to be really soft on their rubber this afternoon, because anyone pushing too hard in these temperatures really will be left with nothing in their toy box by the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's a circuit, it's a tight circuit, 16 turns. There's no what I would call out-and-out high-speed corners. There are curves which effectively cause this, I call a dog leg, straight out of turn 10 all the way down to turn 13. But they're not corners where you put a big load into a car. Elsewhere, they're probably third, maybe maximum fourth speed corners, but more likely to be third speed corners.
So let's take a run down the grid. Dries van Tor grabbed that super valuable pole position. Alongside will be Christopher Haase, second row, Christopher Mies and Raffaele Marcello, the championship challenger. Dennis Marshall, great qualifying. Then top Silver Cup runner Ulysses de Pauw in sixth on the grid. Then comes Matthias Drudy looking for a good result. Christian Engelhardt, best of the Porsche lot. Dean McDonald, top runner in Pro-Am alongside Lucas Leggere, who's going better and better. Jonathan Cecotto, LP Racing, that was a really good run for his Lamborghini. Then Fred Verviche in the car that the fans want to win, car number 46. Albert Costa, welcome back, Albert, is a great Spanish racer joining Imperiale Racing. Andrea Bertolini looking to get Pro-Am Cup points, he's second in class. Then Nicolas Scholl, Norbert Siedler brought in to the 111 McLaren. Then Benjamin Goethe, who, don't forget, came away with the third place outright yesterday. He starts down in 19th. Talk about a tale of 2 days. Look for Dennis Lind, the number 112 JP Motorsport McLaren, starting right down near the back of the grid. We've seen he's got pace, and bear in mind that car started outside of the front row yesterday in the hands of Vincent Avril. But you pointed out at Zandvoort the car had pace in qualifying and it fell away a bit in race conditions.
I mean, the car was on the front row of the grid in Zandvoort. The car has got natural speed. The team are coming to grips with it. They've got some really, really good engineering moving over from another team that's now no longer operating. And they feel really positive about what they can drag out of the McLaren. So, unfortunately for Dennis Lind, he's going to have to start all the way back on the 11th row of the grid. He's going to have to be patient. Or if he's not going to be patient, he's going to roll the dice and hope he doesn't become involved in incidents, which, again, has always been a little part of the opening lap of any race, and Misano is really no different.
Right, we've got a forward-facing camera on Raffaele Marcello's 89 Acodis ASP Mercedes. How many cars will be in front of him in the run to the first corner? If it's 3, he's not gained any position. If it's any more, he has. Any fewer, he's making up ground. Dries van Tor's camera goes backwards. Right at the back of the grid, the final car in the Silver Cup class, it's the Sky Tempesta Racing Mercedes this year. Got used to it being a Ferrari. Chris Froggatt with that penalty at the very back of the grid. Turn 14, the cars go through 2 by 2, and the pace car will peel into the pit lane. Fingers crossed for all the Valentino Rossi fans in the giant grandstands. They've got a good viewing place, the ones looking over turns 13 and 14, but it's what's going to happen next time around through this corner. So this is turn 15, so all eyes on the safety, on the pace car pulling into pit lane. 1, 2, 3, the lights are out. Off it goes to the left through the kink pit lane into the final corner. 2 by 2, they must come. 25 cars today, with 2 of the cars being eliminated on yesterday's opening lap. Now look, the red lights are there on the gantry the second they turn green. I sense it looks like a good start coming from Dries van Tor. It looks as though he had his nose in front. Very much so, and the car in second place on the grid lost one position. That was Christopher Haase, falling behind Christopher Mies, a driver who never eschews a chance to go forward. A person who's gained 1 place is Ulysses de Pauw, got ahead into 5th place of Dennis Marshall. So a little bit of gain, but you can sense going out of turn 16 it wasn't the best of exits from the car that started the race in second place, and accordingly Christopher Haase back to third, but back into second now.
Yeah, they managed to get around the outside of turn 1, and then the 2 Christophers were side by side, and you can see just coming through turn 4 and contact. One of the McLarens has been spun around, and another car just running wide, so contact already. Well, that's before we get into the end of the first sector. But
yeah, well, that
46.
was Norbert Siedler, the exit of turn 5 being spun around, so they already had the 3-place grid penalty, and that has been compounded. But up front, great start by Dries van Tor, and Fred Verviche is pushing on, gaining places. Wait until he gets in front of the grandstands, there'll be a roar.
I'm trying to get it out. 46 has made progress on the opening lap. So that was maybe a result of what occurred, but I think just Fred Verviche read it very well. A safety car is being deployed immediately, so everybody's now got to fall back into line. But certainly for 46, what a great start they've had, back on the 6th row of the grid. And we're looking to see where he is, waiting for the count. Well, they still haven't got a lap recorded yet to be able to give you precisely the position the 46 is in. So unfortunately, contact on the outside and the exit of turn 4, and so car is, I think, on the outside of 4, waiting to be removed as we watch the field make their way round to complete the opening lap. There is the safety car. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I think Vavich might be 6th or 7th.
I think your maths looks very good indeed. So the Valle fans will have a chance with the lower engine notes to yell their support. And Valentino Rossi, they talked about making a good start. Let's take a look behind the safety car, riding into turn 1. It's such a tight corner. Dries Van Tor had this covered, but certainly a fabulous scrap between Christopher Haas and Christopher Mies. Mies got his nose in front from 3rd into 2nd, but 2 corners later he was on the outside line and pushed back down. Christopher Haas never knowingly gives anything away. Raffaele Marcello has held on to that 4th place. You can see him behind the blue and white Audi in front of him, but yeah, 7th place for Fred Vavich. That was really very, very good indeed.
Yeah, I mean, as all the way up from the 6th row of the grid, that would be a 12th position in the case of the 46. So making up 5 positions, well, that's almost a free pass, you might say, on the opening lap, but it takes the same degree of skill and commitment to do it on the opening lap as it would do at any other part of the race. So that will be a reason for some optimism in the 46 crew garage to see their car much nearer to the front of the field than has been over, there we are, damage to the, that right front, right rear.
Well, this is Dennis Marshall limping home with the damage. Already Christian Engelhardt has made it back to the pits in the 54 Dynamic Motorsport Porsche and is still sitting there. But Norbert Siever in the 2nd of the gold and black JP Motorsport McLarens. It's the car that is broken at trackside, unfortunately. That is being recovered while the safety car compresses the field. But Dries Van Tor, of course, when he had the start, it was 2 by 2, and he got his nose in front on the run to the first corner. When the restart comes after the safety car period, it will be 1 by 1.
Yeah, it was a great shame that 66 Audi, Dennis Marshall, they finished 5th along with Peter Schoenhorst in yesterday's race. So how fortunes can change in the space of 24 hours. And another competitive car that really ought not to have been involved, but we don't quite see the detail of it yet. Might get a replay and understand better as we go on board with Raffaele Marcello as he follows around. Not maybe the best of starts for that Mercedes, but he had Audis all over him, around him and under him. So what he's done is get through the opening lap. He's in good shape. He's got Ulysses de Pauw behind him in the 53 Ferrari. So don't think he'll be over concerned about the Ferrari being directly behind him, but he will be concerned about how can I find a way around the 2 Christophers, Christopher Mies in 3rd, Christopher Haas in 2nd, and then to get on to the championship leader, Dries Van Tor. Well, that is a different story altogether.
Yeah, you only get so many options in this race, so many chances, and the first one wasn't grabbed by Raffaele Marcello. He's got to think about this restart very seriously. Dries Van Tor will control the pace of that the moment he floors the throttle. Vincent Vos, boss of Team WRT, along with Yves Weerts, one of the team founders, looking on with interest because they've got cars running in 1st and 3rd. At the start, Christopher Haas on the outside, the white and red Tracer by car collection Audi got pushed back to 2nd to 3rd, and then worked his way forward. Fred Vavich in the middle of the pack, absolutely mighty. He was on the outside for turn 1, but on the inside for turn 2, and was gaining positions hand over fist. He actually ducked inside one of the Santalok Audis and made the move stick very well indeed. Now, John, take a look from the rear of the grid as the lights went from red to green, led away by Dries Van Tor.
Well, we go immediately on board with Raffaele Marcello. So this is the view he got coming out of turn 3. Where do I go, left, right, or stay in the middle? Well, I think stay in the middle and then block off the right as you come into turn 3, through into 4, then to 5. Then the this is a very exciting shot we got from the rear view, and this is Dries Van Tor's Audi. A little bit of vibration on the camera. Here it is on the outside of turn 5, where the whole lot starts to kick off, and already the Porsche was going slow. The McLaren you can see spinning across the front of the Porsche, and then whatever occurred through turn 6.
I don't really see how Dennis Marshall was involved in that. He was somewhat further up the track, but it seemed almost like 2 instances. So we're green again. John picks that up. Green bar at the bottom of the screen. So Dries Van Tor can dictate the pace. The safety car period has come to an end, and he's leading away. But this is easier than leading away from a 2x2 grid on a rolling start. It's 1 by 1. Down behind, Ulysses de Pauw in 5th place in his... Oh, he's just been passed very tidily indeed. Matteo Drudi didn't need a second invitation, and that's followed through. Fred Vavich, he loves turn 7, turn 2. It didn't work for 46,
Would it be up the inside, almost rubbing the paint off the back of the Ferrari? Will there be a move coming into turn 4? He's only been off at the outside line, but the Ferrari holds up, and there was a Lamborghini diving up the inside. Albert Costa.
Fred Vervish outsmarted himself in the battle to try and get ahead of the Ferrari, and he's lost the position to Albert Costa. Albert Costa very quickly read what was going on and ducked down to the inside and got up alongside 46, and that's not a mistake. That's just what happens on the opening lap. Yet again, look, Albert Costa tries to go a long way around in turn 8. Ulisses de Pauw is not giving him any room to work with, so he has to back out of it, and then the run up to turn 9 and 10. You can see Albert Costa has got strong intentions up the inside into turn 10, now on the inside of the exit of turn 10, and he's taken that position away. Done well in the space of one lap.
Certainly has. And Matteo Drudi had already got ahead of Ulisses de Pauw's Ferrari. Don't forget, though, that Ulisses is running in the Silver Cup class, doesn't want to risk possible maximum points in that by fighting too hard and taking any risks. Up front, though, it's Audi, Audi, Audi. It's Dries van Tor, Christopher Haase, Christopher Mies, and then Raffaele Marcello trying to hang on in his Mercedes. Slight gap. Then we get Matteo Drudi. And then behind, you've got Ulisses de Pauw being pushed, shoved, and unfortunately demoted from his point of view by the Lamborghini of Albert Costa.
Maybe the best option for Raffaele Marcello was to allow these three ferrets fighting in a sack, the three lead Audis fighting amongst themselves, and letting Marcello sit back and watch, and let them maybe drive their car, their tyres, into a zone where they will lose grip, and then he might be in a position. So he's looking maybe towards the middle or the end of his stint, where he might get some remission. As you look on board in the 88 Exemplar, this car, disappointing performance in qualifying. They didn't really get a good run. They only started back in 16th position.
But he's up to 9th, so has been going the right direction of travel. You can see the yellow nose of that Mercedes just behind the Ferrari. Ulisses de Pauw, unfortunately, going backwards in these early laps after the restart of the race. Dries van Tor, 0.6, well, 2/3 of a second to the good. But Exemplar in 9th place. I reckon he's got a place more than that. He's setting off after Fred Vervish, but Fred's been very busy indeed, trying to please the fans.
Well, you can see there's now the Ferrari between the Mercedes and Vervish's 46 Audi. So we're, into lap 5, and it's finally beginning to settle down. We're getting gaps appearing, groups of cars together, then a gap, another group of cars together, then a further gap. Dean McDonald, Pro-Am Cup, doing again a very strong job, running in 10th place, leading that Pro-Am category.
Yeah, he's got Jonathan Tricotto just behind in the 888, the LP Racing, Luca Piri Racing, Lamborghini, and he's just a similar margin down 0.3 of a second on Jim Pla in that 88 Mercedes we saw a moment ago. In fact, we're looking back at Dean McDonald.
And into turn 16 we go, in and out. Oh, Dean McDonald, very tight line. I don't know what he did there. He's got a problem. It looked as if he suddenly just bailed out of it. He has got a problem because he's just, something has changed in the McLaren in the space of that one corner. He had to, but he didn't even run out to the maximum he could have done, and in the space of 100 metres he lost 2 places.
Well, that was really extraordinary. Well picked up, John, there. Dennis Lind, fastest, 231 kilometres an hour in the speed trap for his McLaren. Same speed as the driver who started on the penultimate row, Klaus Bachler, in his Porsche. The Porsche haven't had a great time around here, but maybe in terms of straight speed, at least that's their strength, which suggests the deficit probably coming in the cornering. So the order are very different to yesterday's race, but Dries van Tor leading and looking comfortable. 1.2 seconds to good. Clear space between him and Christopher Haase. He's now starting to pull away.
Yeah, and he'll be happy with that. He's made the break from the two chasing Christopher Haase, Christopher Mies Audis, and of course Raffaele Marcello's tucked up behind those second and third place Audis, not being able to make any move. And any move you're going to make in Christopher Haase, you need to be sure that you've got the job done before you think you've got that position.
Well, a very different story for today's race from yesterday. The 663 Imperiale Racing, an extra entry this weekend, and there it is, running in 6th place overall. So used across the year to seeing Albert Costa in a Lamborghini. I'm just getting used to this race livery. It's totally different from the machines he raced before, but he's going as well as ever.
Well, we're accustomed to seeing him in the Emile Frey racing Lamborghinis in the Endurance Cup, but here he is in the Sprint Cup, and as always, entertaining. He's always exciting to watch. Sometimes in the opening lap he can be a little bit unpredictable, but he's given Matteo Drudi, who is by no means a slouch. But Drudi is one of my drivers I always want to watch, and Da Costa is doing all he can in the Lamborghini to catch and pass.
So Dries Van Tor sitting on a lead, an extending lead, 1.6 seconds, but Valentino Rossi's fans will be delighted. Their car started 12th. That was okay, better than yesterday, but quickly up to 7th place on the opening lap. Fred Vervisch, Belgian racer, an astonishing job. But he's in an Audi. 5 of the top 7 cars are Audis. The interlopers are Raffaele Marcello in his Mercedes in 4th place, where he started now, but Costa, who's advanced up the order, he started in 13th position. He, in his Lamborghini, is up to 6th.
Yeah, but Fred Vervisch actually looked like he's regaining some of the ground he lost when he allowed Costa to get through. That was that battle going into turn 5. So Fred Vervisch is regrouping and making a charge back up to the tail of the 6th place Lamborghini.
Right, if you're just starting to watch the race while we're underway, we've got 48 minutes to go, and already the temperatures in the cockpits are very hot indeed. They'll get hotter and hotter. The track conditions getting hotter and hotter. They were 32, 33 degrees at the start of the race. The air temperature is hideous. Drivers have talked of cockpit temperatures of 55 degrees. It's hideous, but they're not long stints. A maximum of 35 minutes for those that take the longer run, a minimum of 25. Pit window opens after 25 minutes in this hour.
Well, we're talking about the cockpit temperatures. The other temperature that drivers have to be conscious of clearly is tire temperature, because they don't want to overuse the tire, particularly in the early phase of this race. They want to keep some of the bite, the grip, available to them to the point where they make their pit stop. As Fred Vervisch once again exits out of turn 3 and up the short straight into the turn 4, 5, which it becomes, as I mentioned, a lot of dust coming from the back of Costa's Lamborghini, and even more as he exits through turn 5.
Yeah, dust in your eye. And certainly for the drivers today, they're looking for the gaps, and that dust at the edge of the circuit, John, we've seen it in almost all the support races in particular. If you run a little bit wide, you slip wide, you hit that dust, and you're in so much trouble, and so many drivers just make these mistakes, and that at Misano is constantly where you get the overtaking manoeuvres. But John, right on board with this one with Fred Vervisch as he attacks.
Well, just keep an eye, really, not what Fred Vervisch is doing, but what's happening directly in front of Albert Costa. Because dropping that wheel off a curb can be used as a ploy, because most racing drivers know if you can kick a bit of dirt up from the back wheel of your car into the front wheel of the car that's pursuing, it might have a marginal detrimental effect on it. So as long as you're not doing it in a manner which is almost over the top, to put it bluntly, then you can get away with it. As we go down in, and look how close Vervisch gets to the back of the Lamborghini as they go through 14, then the short sprint up to 15, almost flat, and then another break and down a couple of gears into the final turn on to pit straight. Here we are. Where's the lap gone? They're coming up to complete lap 7 onto lap 8. There we go.
Now, John, looking at the pace, we've got a braking graphic here, and Fred Vervisch appears to be the one with the shortest braking distance, and certainly better than Umberescu, but that is his advantage at the moment. But as you said, constantly with the face full of dust again from the Lamborghini. But we'll keep a watch, because if you can brake late, then you've got a real advantage. I think he's starting to unsettle Costa when he's almost pushing around the circuit.
Yes, it has been. Costa was very quick in those opening 2-3 laps. Maybe he pushed a little bit too hard, but Fred Vervisch overran on the exit of turn 6 through the curve of 7, but you wouldn't even see it on our TV screen, and then down into turn 8. If you can get alongside a car but get down the inside, you can take away a position. But you can see that Albert Costa, he's wily, he's cunning, he knows where he needs to put his car in a defensive context.
Well, everybody working out there very hot under the collar, absolutely. 2.5 seconds the advantage that Dries Van Tor has in this race. Looking comfortable as fellow Audi racers, albeit Christopher Haas from the Trazer by Car Collection team and his own teammate Christopher Mies pushing but just falling away, but they're still half a second clear of Raffaele Marcello. No change for Marcello.
Just in the back of the picture before we change to this shot, we can see that Benjamin Goethe was getting involved in the battle with Nicholas Scholl and Dane McDonald. So that's going on in the background. We're watching what's going on just outside the lead 3 cars. And again, Albert Costa using all the racetrack and every bit that he's allowed to use, trying to keep the pace of Fred Vervisch, which is picked up as the lead car goes through, and he's now got a 2.7 advantage over Christopher Haas. Again, Vervisch looking for a way around the Lamborghini. I mean, for me, Costa has lost a lot of grip, having pushed really hard on his opening 2 laps. Fred Vervisch has retained that grip, but he's not found a way to get past. He can't dive down the inside into turn 4. He's not far enough alongside. He might get up alongside on the exit of 5, but then he's on the wrong side of the racetrack for entry into turn 6.
We're almost trying to entice Albert Costa to run wide, but we've seen from that braking graphic that he's got the advantage under braking. Lost a little bit of form through turn 6 and 7. That means he can't attack into turn 8. So regather, regroup for Fred Vervish. But it does seem the Audis remain the best suited manufacturer of these cars. These R8 LMS GT3 Evo 2s are just mighty cars. And there's Dries Van Toor producing a masterclass. He pulls ever further clear. 2.7 seconds clear over Christopher Haase. A little bit of a gap, another 0.8 of a second back to Christopher Mies. Then the Mercedes of the championship challenger, Raffaele Marciello, doing his all. He will hand over probably as late as he possibly can to Timo Boguslavski, but we've had some great runs from the pair of them. But here you just sense that Marciello has no advantage whatsoever. Whatever he does, his Mercedes can't manage it.
Well, you get a sense that this is more a case of damage limitation for the 89 Acuda ASP Mercedes. Raffaele Marciello is not making any progress. He's half a second or so behind Christopher Mies. But there you can see second, third, fourth. And in fact, I would say that's gone up to more than half a second. It's now gone up to 9/10 of a second. Again, Vervish all over the back of Albert Costa coming into turn 1. Look at Jim Pla likewise trying to get on terms with Lucy De Pauw in the Silver Cup Ferrari. So that was a poor qualifying for Jim Pla. And back again. These two are going to get into contact. I can almost, I'm not going to say guaranteed, I can almost guarantee there will be some kind of body rub somewhere, and it may be up at turn 5 and turn 6.
Message to race control, keep that safety car on standby. But these two great craftsmen in the car. A little bit of caution coming, but it is, like, as I said earlier, it's down to the driver in front largely often making mistakes here when passing manoeuvres come. But all Fred Vervish can do, doesn't want to risk too much. He doesn't want to be the hero who goes up the inside and gets the car taken out, so he can't hand it to Valentino Rossi, but he's doing all he can to unsettle Costa.
But you can see how much Costa has dropped back from the back of Matteo Drudi. At one point he looked like he was going to make a move on Drudi, but now he's about a second and a bit plus behind as the field, the back end of the field fans out. You can see Sommer. There it is, Benjamin Goethe running behind the 99 Attempto Audi, and that's Nicolas Scholl in that car. So great race yesterday from Benjamin Goethe to get a podium, and one that he was delighted with.
Absolutely so, and really resisted. Just had news from the pit lane that Dennis Marshall, the car we saw, the 66 Attempto Racing Audi, limping in on that first lap with that front right puncture. They decided, well, they could put another tyre on. They'd already lost an entire lap as he came back through, so they have withdrawn from the race. Christian Engelhardt's 54 Dynamic Motorsport Porsche also out of the race, and Norbert Siedler didn't even make it back to the pits after that sorting out at turn number 5 on the opening lap. Dries Van Toor has banged in the fastest lap of the race, and he's pulling clear from Christopher Haase. 3.6 seconds to good. Christopher Mies trying to keep Christopher Haase honest, and Raffaele Marciello running in 4th place has no answers. A little bit further back you've got Matteo Drudi all on his own. He's nearly 2 seconds clear of this battle between Albert Costa in the 663 Imperiale Racing Lamborghini and Fred Vervish, who's pushing so hard indeed down towards the tail of the field. In fact, Chris Froggett's gained several places, but he's being pushed and just passed by Klaus Bachler, who started stone.
And isn't problem. I mean, you can see just overtaken again by Thomas Drouet has gotten past as well. So I think Froggett might be struggling a little bit. That's 2 places in the space of a couple of corners.
Just looking to see if there's any obvious signs of the handling of that car as to why it was untoward. But yesterday they had the contact early on with Eddie Cheever diving down the inside to remove a couple of the other cars. However, it was later in the race they had a series of pit stops, so all not right. And don't forget, for several years Sky Tempesta Racing have been running a Ferrari. They're still getting to learn the Mercedes, and this will be the hottest conditions they'd had. Another fastest lap for Dries Van Toor.
Yes, and just watching Van Toor's progress, he's now lapping 2 to 3/10 a second on average quicker than the pursuing Christopher Haase, and then Mies and Marciello behind. So right now the 32 out of the WT entry is absolutely as it was yesterday, and once they build themselves a comfortable cushion between first and second, then the pace that they will run at, Van Toor will run up, will be roughly the pace that we're seeing second or third place Audis. So he doesn't need to keep pushing. He can then just run at a comfortable speed. Then it's all down to the pit stops for the teams when they do the driver change and the 4 wheels and tyres. But, I mean, metronomic pit stops yesterday but from WRT, and for that matter from Acuda's ASP with the number 89 Mercedes.
In fact, to be honest, the big question mark is how good a Tracer by Car Collection, a much newer team. Their Audi is in second place in the hands of Christopher Haase. how immaculate are they going to be in the pit stops to gain any advantage over a Codis ASP? And of course, Team WRT, you've got to be absolutely on top of your game.
Just 2.5 minutes remaining before the pit stop window will open. We heard Dries van Thor tell us, oh, we might make an early stop. Well, Dries, let's wait and see when you make that early stop. I suspect that what they might choose to do is let Dries van Thor stay out and build, if he can build, without putting any load into his car, and get that up to maybe a 4-second advantage before we bring it in, hand it over to Charles Press.
Well, these Audis so well suited to the tight twists and turns of the Misano circuit. And just to reiterate, of the last 7 races from this championship here at Misano, 6 have now been won by Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts. Will they make it 7? Absolutely astonishing. Still a long way to go. We have 38 minutes on the clock in this 1-hour race. Hot out there, tyre performance starting to go away. And those who push hard, we think most notably Albert Costa, who propelled himself up to 6th place, having started in 13th on the grid, may well be hanging on now. But he's still keeping Fred Vervies behind him. That's the key.
The beauty that Dries van Thor has is there's nobody around him, nobody in front to upset the aerodynamics around the front of his car, nobody behind him pushing him, forcing him to drive above the limit he might choose to do. So it's everything favourable for number 32, WRT Audi. As we look back, see Christopher Mies in the 33, still charging as best he can to try and get ahead of Christopher Haase in 2nd place.
Can't see any changes coming from there. 2nd, 3rd and 4th, absolutely even Stevens the last, probably 10 laps, but Dries van Thor is the one making the moves, making the changes and stretching his advantage all the time. He's almost getting to the point that he's going to be out of sight when they come around some of the tighter corners.
I'm just beginning to think or wonder, is Marcello looking to, the gap between 3rd and 4th look to be slightly smaller, just coming through those last turns at the end of the back straight, than it was the previous time. Now, the gap previously was 0.6 of a second to 3rd place. What is it now? It's actually gone up, so don't trust your eyes.
No, but 2 corners earlier, I think it had come down, but it seemed the end of the lap, 15 and 6, Sun 16. Suddenly, Raffaele Marcello just didn't look quite as sharp, and in fact, he is now maybe falling away. Or maybe what we're seeing is Christopher Mies in the 33 car with the McDonald's livery is actually pulling away from him because he's catching Christopher Haase. We could soon have Team WRT Audi's 1st and 2nd at the moment. They're 1st and 3rd with the Haase car from Trades by Car Collection between them. But it's all Audis with Raffaele Marcello doing the best he can to be best of the rest.
So the field, oh, there we go, an early stopper. This Lamborghini is in.
Before the pit window is open, John. So that must be... it's
probably a puncture.
Triple Eight car, probably a puncture. Jonathan Cecotto has brought it in.
So that's unfortunate, because if it is a tyre cut down, they cannot make the mandatory driver change at the same time. So he's out by just about a minute. And how unfortunate is that? But look at Goethe trying to get on terms with Nicolas Schul. Makes the undercut coming through the exit of 10, but hasn't got the position. But he might get a bit of a slipstream coming down the back straight. Schul is certainly thinking about being defensive and not giving the young Belgian driver any hope of chance of sliding down as you get down into bodywork in the middle of the track. Now, who's that come off? And that's on important. Goethe had to get out of the throttle big time. Oh, and he takes too much on the inside of the curb in turn 13, but gets away with it.
Well, that could have really come unstuck. At that point, the car is very light indeed through the 3rd of the kinks down the long run from turn 10 to turn 14, bouncing across. But pit window is now open, so that Lamborghini we saw from Triple Eight Racing, Jonathan Cecotto's car, was in before, clearly for a puncture to be effective. They've still got to do a pit stop in the mandatory 10-minute pit window. Dean McDonald, by the way, lead in Prime class, the Silver Cup class. He's fallen 2 positions. Ulysses de Pauw from 6 to 8, it matters not. He made that good start, but he's leading the Silver Cup class in 8th place overall. Lucas Leggeret, next in class, is in 10th, just 2 places further back. But for Benjamin Goethe, yesterday had the astonishing end to the race under so much pressure, but he managed to hang on. And today, of course, he didn't qualify as well. This is his qualifying, his grid position that he's having to advance from, but it is much harder when you're in the second half of the field.
So the 93 Sky Tempesta Mercedes is in. So out gets Chris Fogart, in gets young Cheever. Well, I shouldn't call him young anymore, but Eddie Cheever, the son of Eddie Cheever, who was the son of Eddie Cheever. Oh, round the outside, is it going to work? No, but at least he's looking, trying to be creative, find another way. Hasn't worked up the inside, tried it round the outside again, under the rear wing of Schul. Now, you're allowed to make one move defensively, but Goethe's going to go the long way round, and he's pushing, but he may have to be very brave and hopefully he gets away with it. And, well, very exciting stuff.
Well, it really is, John. That could be one for the stewards, and mixing it with them as well. Ethan Simeone, the Canadian McLaren racer, goes around the outside. So a real case of pushing the outside, and Goethe goes, you know what, I'll call that a day. I'll come into the pits. I
was always coming into the pits, Bruce.
Yeah, I was, clearly. I didn't write it down. It looks like the McLaren was trying to go into the wrong pit lane there. Who's about to peel off. I think that's Ethan Simeone.
So we got the 88 Jumplar in, and he'll hand over to Jules Gugnon.
Just want to point out, actually, it wasn't Ethan Simeone, it was the teammate, the sister car, the 112 with Dennis Lind. So he's bringing that into hand. There it is at a standstill, looking fabulous in gold and black. That's going to be handed over to Vincent Abril, who yesterday, don't forget, started from second position on the grid. So he has pace in this car. But a driver who's got plenty of pace, plenty of poise, plenty of balance is Dries van Tor. 5.5 seconds to good. Look, he's got the back straight all to himself. Then eventually you get second and third coming into shot. Christopher Haase, Christopher Mies, but not close enough to fight with each other. And simply hanging on, trying his best to get close enough to use their slipstream. If anything, Raffaele Marcello, best of the rest in his Mercedes in 4th place.
So I think the final podium positions will be ultimately not determined on the racetrack. It will be determined by the speed of the pit stops and driver changes as Dries van Tor comes up to complete lap 16. And I wonder what his last lap, his best lap is a 1:32.9. That's the fastest lap of the race so far. Last lap of 33.360. So he's been running in the 33, low 33s, again metronomically all the way through. As Marcello closes again down on Christopher Mies coming into turn 1, but hasn't got the ground to make a serious threat to take away that 3rd place.
Well, Fred Vervies has got past Albert Costa, happened because Costa peeled into the pit lane, but drivers coming in, so everyone moves up one, but there's been a really good opening stint from Fred Vervies. Now, one of the things his teammate Valentino Rossi has to learn about is the pit stop. That's been a problem area for him. We saw him at the first race, he overshot his pit. He said he made another mistake yesterday, but he is fiercely honest, and let's hope today in front of his home fans at Misano he can nail it. And you know what, now Albert Costa's pulled off the track, suddenly we're getting fastest lap of the race for the car that was chasing him, Fred Vervies, able to run at his own pace without that Lamborghini in front of him.
Well, Fred Vervies' last lap was a 1:33.567. So that's still about 0.6 of a second away, just under, from the overall fastest. But it's important for Fred Vervies to get into clear air to enable him to get back up to the kind of pace that the car could generate in that clear air. But this is the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. And there's been nothing really between these 3 cars since the lights went out. The big difference, of course, is race leader has checked out. He's now got a 6-second advantage. So Haase comes in, whereas Christopher Mies, he's going to stay out. He stays out, and does Marcello likewise. So Christopher Haase will bring in the number 11 Tracer by car collection out to hand over to the very useful indeed Simon Gachet.
Yeah, Gachet, cool karma collected on the grid, interviewed by Gemma before the start of the race. More cars entering the pit lane. There's that Christopher Haase car. It's a very tight entrance to the pit lane, then long run down with the pit limiter on, and then of course that long curving rejoinder before the track is joined at turn 3, the exit at turn 3.
Yeah, that pit lane exit was, I think, remodeled a number of years ago to make it a safer exit, because it was exiting probably as the cars would exit out of turn 1 into 2. So they've now carried it all the way back round, and you come in at the exit of 3. Oh, and that was a little bit of a clumsy, almost not quite, you know what I mean, one of those incidents, one of those moments. As we see race leader on his happy way now, 7.3 seconds clear of Christopher Mies, and he's pulling away at the present time, according to the last lap, by almost 3/4 of a second.
Yeah, and Dries van Tor on the grid before the start of the race saying he might make an early pit stop, but he hasn't done that. It's going to be in the second half of the pit window. Another 4.5 minutes remain until he has to come in, has to be in pit entry. Might do it this time. He's about to catch in the next lap a trio of cars up ahead of him. They too could be about to pit, but you know what? I would have thought come in now. One more lap probably if you don't. And he is actually listening to me. I don't think he is. But into the pit lane. There was no point catching any traffic and running the risk of being slowed slightly. So Charles Weerts would have been primed. He'll be standing in the pit lane. Team WRT, their garage is right down by pit exit, so it's the long, long run, but then it's the shorter blast when they get going. So Dries and Charles, 5 wins out of the last 6 wins here. 6 races here, and we'll be looking to build on that.
So you'll be looking for an in-and-out time somewhere in the 1 minute 5 second range. Already seen a 1:05.2 for the number 30 Audi Thomas Neubar behind the wheel. That's the Gulf car. So anything 1:05 or below will be a stellar time. Anything above a 1:5, well, you're losing time. There is the 32 Audi getting its wheels, tires, and driver change carried out. As now coming down the back straight, and this is Simon Gachet, and there it goes. And that, what a great stop. That looks to have been the benefit of being at the bottom of the pit lane is you can more or less get on it, but of course you have to run still at the speed limit until you come all the way down and around. And where's that line that you cross, at which point then you can get on the throttle. You can still see the Audi threading its way down that extended. Now he's on it, but he's going to come in just to clear of the Ferrari. Is that the 52? So fortunately for Charles Weerts, and also probably a bit of good driving on the part of is that in the 52? I think that might be, it is Andrea Bertolini. So Bertolini aware, and that's good thinking from a driver of his years and experience. He doesn't need to battle or get in the way of what will ultimately be the lead Audi.
No, so that was a decent pit stop. Didn't have to push too much. 1 minute and 4 seconds. I think you won't see many teams going faster than that, if any. So again, Team WRT have worked their magic. So Christopher Mies leads from Raffaele Marcello. I'm fairly sure with the pit window to close in just over 2 minutes, they will be coming in to hand over their teammates. Christopher Mies will hand over the 33 to Jean-Baptiste Simonau, and Timo Bogoslawski will take over from Raffaele Marcello. But you know, the good thing about Timo Bogoslawski and Raffaele Marcello as a pair, they're accustomed to winning. They've got 3 victories so far in the 2022 Sprint Series, now matched by the crew that may be about to outdo them by taking their 4th, Charles Weerts and Dries van Tor. But certainly Raffaele Marcello has done all he can. He's kept close to the 2 Audis ahead, but unfortunately for him, that 32 Audi with Dries van Tor was always pulling clear, getting smaller and smaller in the distance.
Yes, but these 2 cars, the 2 lead cars, are going to be coming in at the end of this lap because there's only 26.5 minutes remaining. So by the time they get around to pit lane entry, and the pit getting prepared, there is Timo Bogoslawski just adjusting his race suit to make sure that everything is as required. And then when he pops into the car, the seat belts are attached. You've got the crotch strap, you've got the side straps, you've got the shoulder straps. Oh, bodywork damage, look at that. Now, is that the bodywork that we've seen lying on the middle of the racetrack? Did that ultimately come from the 46 Fred Vervisch? It's all ripped away, finally wind pressure. Valentino Rossi getting on his mark, so left-hand drive or left-hand steering Audi, so he will be close to the garage. So Fred Vervisch will peel in.
Well, I wonder, John, did that damage come in the tussle with Albert Costa? They certainly got very close at certain points. However, for Valentino Rossi, he's going to consider the situation. This car's coming from effective 7th place, has been busy on the track. Now, he's not the driver pulling in, so he's less likely to make a mistake as he had in the earlier races. He will take over that number 46 Audi, and then we'll be able to blast off when the pit stop minimum time. The pit stop has been covered. Best pit stop so far, 1 minute 4.
Yeah,
Team
that's
WRT.
the 3rd player, sorry, the 32. So there we see the 46 in, Fred Vervisch out already, and Valentino Rossi will be getting in, and Vervisch immediately turns around and assists with the attachment as the 89 Mercedes rolls there, we see. So important to get that, of course, the safety net, which is a mandatory safety feature in a. So a lot of cars all rolling down the pit lane, so it's important to be careful for safe release. You don't want to get a penalty for being a little bit optimistic, as Timo Bogoslawski leads this train of cars all the way down. So there's the Audi back out again. That was the car that Christopher Mies was behind the wheel. So Timo Bogoslawski, once this all washes through, one is assuming that it'll be 32 Audi. It might now be the 89 Mercedes. Not quite sure where the Christopher Haas car, which Haas has now handed over to Simon Gachet, will be. It currently would be behind Charles Weerts on timing and scoring, but it just depends where the 89 Mercedes blends in.
Yeah, but just pointing out that the 89 crew from Acodis ASP did a 1 minute 3.8 second pit stop, so they gained 0.4 of a second on the race
32.
leading car
Yes.
doesn't matter too much. It's what it gained relative to the others. But Charles Weerts back on board in the lead of this race. They were 4 and a bit seconds to good.
And Charles Weerts on his first flying lap has set the fastest race lap, 1:32.886. So that car, that young driver behind the wheel, has stood on the loud pedal and has done a pretty impressive first flying lap on a brand new set of Pirelli rubber, or the best of the rest of the Pirelli rubber, consolidating all the hard yards done by Dries van Thor in his opening, what was 28 minutes or so stint.
Yeah, in many ways, it's all about getting a 10th here, a 10th there. In the background, in second place, therefore, is Timo Bogoslawski. In third place is Jean-Baptiste Simonauer, and suddenly it wasn't such a good pit stop for the Tracer by Car Collection Audis, and the car that was driven so hard by Christopher Haas, and now in the hands of Simon Gachet, has dropped back to 4th position, just in front of his young teammate, 16-year-old Lorenzo Patrese. Not expected to be racing here. He was possibly going to come to a 10 because he races for the team in the Endurance Series, but COVID for Luca Giotto meant up he stepped, and the 16-year-old is right in the mix. And Valentino Rossi, just waiting for confirmation, appears to be in 6th place, so another good pit stop from WRT. 7th before the pit stop, and Valle's Fantasies up to 6th. Well, this will be a fiercely supported result if he can go on, because the best result for them so far, Rossi and Verviche, has been an 8th place in the second race at Brands Hatch. We've got a long way to go.
Yeah, Valentino was going to have to keep a weather eye on his mirrors, because behind him is a charging 1.5 seconds gap between 6th and 7th place Jules Gougnot in the 88 Mercedes, and Gougnot is not shy about using the loud pedal, and clearly will look to try and get his Mercedes up into the top 6. But Valentino Rossi's been handed a car over in a very strong position, and now he's got to deliver for his own team. There is the car, and you can see that bodywork still flapping. There is Gougnot behind in the Mercedes, so bodywork still lying in the middle of the track as the cars come down to the completion of the back sort of dog-leg straight. So Gougnot, well, let's just see if he's going to make any inroads into the gap between himself and Valentino Rossi. Wait and see what it is when they come across start-finish line as we come up to complete lap 23. Last time through, the gap was 1.4 seconds. Looks to be in that sort of 1 second, 1.2 seconds. So wait and see. 1.206. So about 0.2 of a second gain to Gougnot. That's impressive from Rossi.
That really is. Obviously, they shielded the fact the front end of the car is a little bit damaged. Probably didn't let him see that. Don't want to put a spook in his mind.
Do you know what? Sometimes a bit of an injury in a car like that can actually work in a driver's interest. I've experienced it unexpectedly, and I found I loved the car with the damaged bodywork. I could drive it even more comfortably than I had it full bodywork on. You never know. Maybe Valentino might say, the car felt great.
Yeah, but might he also go, I've got to push all the harder because I've got to make up for the deficit. Right, let's look at the speed at turn 9. That's the tightest right-hander before you join the back straight. And it's Christopher Haas. It's an Audi at the top, but only equal with Raffaele Marcello's pace. This is in the early first half of the race. So the Mercedes not at a particular deficit. You can see Jules Gougnot, also then Charles Weerts, all in the mix. It's absolutely fine. Weerts' advantage though, 9.9 seconds. That is comfortable. But look, there's debris on the track. At any point in this race, someone can pick up a puncture. Let's not wish it on anyone, but the drivers have to be super cautious, John. Keep it neat, keep it clean.
Well, everybody who's done their first stint, they know what's there. They're now going to sit back and watch. Those that have joined as the second driver, they're now aware that there is debris on the track, so they've got to stay way away from that. And the gap first to second is 9.9 seconds. Gap second to third, 2.6 seconds. Third to fourth, 3.1. So a big span of time compared to where we were before we had the round of pit stops.
Yes.
That explains where the value and the key to a good, clean pit stop really pays dividends.
Absolutely so. And before the pit stops, the Silver Cup was led by Ulysses Depot. He's handed over the 53 Ferrari to Pierre-Alexandre Jean, but they're second place in class because Thomas Neubauer has built on the good work from Benjamin Goethe. Their tails up after yesterday's fabulous third place finish. They're now up in ninth. They're in the Silver Cup class lead. And good job for them. Another quick pit stop.
Yeah, and they've got a 2.4 second advantage over the Ferrari. And if you can run down that 2.4 second advantage, then where are you going to find a way around? So it's the usual story. You can catch, but where will you pass?
Well, Lorenzo Patrese looking very comfortable in that 5th place. He should be learning as he goes. He's got Simon Gachet up in front. So many years of Audi racing experience and pretty much matching him sector by sector, just a second in arrears. Now, Silver Cup advantage just in the background of the shots in 9th place overall. The number 30 car, wait for it, it's coming in the background with the Gulf livery just behind the Lamborghini and now starting to catch Alberto Di Folco. So Neubauer far from finished.
Well, let's have a look and see what Thomas Neubauer can do with the Lamborghini. Can he give it a bit of a hustle and a hurry on? I suspect that the pace that this car can run at, and it ran at a very strong pace in Saturday's race, just more a matter of where can I make the move.
Well, there we are looking,
looking
at the Silver Cup class winner. I was wondering why the 188 McLaren leading the Prime class had fallen so far down the order, but I noticed their pit stop was 1 minute 21 seconds, so shedding about 14-15 seconds on an acceptable time. Nearly lost ground, but they're still in the class lead.
Yes, yes, and yes. Nevertheless, and not a yes for the nevertheless, you know, whatever the reasons are, there were obviously clear reasons. There may have been the usual story of a wheel not coming off the pegs, or a fumble, or maybe a wheel not dropped. Whatever the reasons are, teams have to practice, practice, practice to make perfect. You cannot afford to give away free time to your competition, whether it's overall positions or whether it's a class position.
Right, John, I don't know if you're a betting man or not, but Valentino Rossi, his advantage in 6th place over Jules Gounon, coming down by about a quarter of a second, a lap, 0.2 of a second. Is he going to hang on to that 6th place? Certainly he's going to come under proper pressure very soon indeed. The gap between them just 0.8 of a second and it's coming down. There they are, down the back straight.
Yes, coming down the back straight. It depends how close and how much pressure Jules Gounon can apply to Valentino Rossi. And of course, the more miles that Rossi gets behind the wheel in certainly racing context. Remember, he is a 100% blue chip racer from his previous motorsport experience. So he understands what it's like to be in a pressure situation. Remember, motorcyclists don't have wing mirrors. He had to just judge by, well, if the guy's alongside me, I'm in a race. He can see precisely where Gounon is, and he will be able to make adaptations to cope with any attack that will come from the 88 Mercedes.
Well, it's going to be an incredibly good test because we've watched Jules Gounon over the years. He's a very, very hard racer, hard and fair, and he's going to fancy coming up. Bear in mind, John, of course, that car started a long way down the order. Expected them near the front, but after qualifying, the 88 car was starting in 16th position. There it is now in 7th, so been a good race for them. But when you qualify that badly, what can you expect? Not a lot. Charles Viet's now 10.5 seconds clear of Timo Bogoslawski. Like yesterday, there is no answer from the Codis ASP Mercedes, but that very good pit stop bought them track position. But what's happening, he is stabilised the gap back to 3rd place. There's no attack. It's 2 seconds back to Jean-Baptiste Simonauer, so he should be safe, at least in 2nd. Damage limitation,
yes,
John.
I think that 2nd place at the end of the day was the best that maybe Akoda ASP could accept, because they just outright didn't have the pace of particularly the 32 WRT Audi. And in the first stint, likewise the Tracer by Car Collection car, the sister car, of course, was another WRT Audi.
Where else? Well, you have to say impressive run for Tracer by Car Collection. We had one of their cars on the front row. Simon Gachet is taking it over from Christopher Haase, but they're running in 4th and 5th positions. But Thomas Neubauer looks like the driver who's going to be the most likely one to make an overtake. No wonder the TV director is taking a look. He's pushing Alberto Di Folco, who joined the championship this weekend with Imperiale Racing. Generally a Lamborghini racer in the Super Trofeo, but he knows this circuit very well indeed, so he's not shy of keeping his car where he wants to. But Thomas Neubauer getting better and better. Silver Cup class leader, that is for sure, but he wants to advance. They were 3rd overall yesterday, John.
Interesting, the Falco doesn't use quite as much of the racetrack on the left on the entry into turn 1 as we're saying Neubauer do, and don't know why that would be the case. Maybe he feels he can get enough performance from himself in the car without using that outside approach into turn 1, but certainly Neubauer feels it's there to be used. I'm going to use it, and as long as I'm not getting pinged for track limit abuses, I'm going to take it because I think it is the quicker way.
Well, Neubauer's certainly looking to the left, looking to the right, semi-faint here. Am I serious? Am I just probing? Am I pushing? He's pushing, that's for sure. And I sense now he's closer than he's been before. Turn 9, well, half a gap, and he's dived down the inside. Can he get into 10 and out? They'll be side by side as they accelerate. The power went down earlier from the Lamborghini, but he's on the outside line when they get to the kink at turn 11. This is racing at Misano, John. This is how it should be down the back straight.
Yeah, side by side, but the advantage goes to a bit of bodywork, a bit in the middle of the track, and that forced the Audi to move over to the left, which I think slightly caught Lamborghini unexpectedly. De Falco didn't quite understand what was going on, but it was clearly because otherwise the Audi of Thomas Neubauer was going to hit that bit of errant bodywork, and that would have been a... Well, let's not worry about it because it didn't happen.
Right, final warning for car 18 for exceeding track limits. That's Danny Croze's car. He's down in 20th place. Lamborghini from GSM Nova Marine. But that might not be the last final warning. Track limits have been such a hot topic here. What's happening in the battle between Rossi and Gounod? Still staying absolutely stable, 0.8 of a second as it was some laps ago. So with every passing lap, the confidence must be increasing, unless Valentino's feeling those tyres starting to go.
No, I think right now Valentino's got himself into a zone. He's a happy chap here at Misano. It's a circuit very close to his home. It's a circuit he's had great success previously at MotoGP, and he's just beginning. It's a gradual process. You can't throw a competitor into a competition so competitive as we have here and expect them to win races outright immediately. It is a process, and this kind of building that we're going to see here, the benefit of having a strong Sunday race will pay big dividends. Of course, next event we're going to see all these competitors out in is the Spa 24 Hours.
Yeah, quite a thought. It almost, oh gosh, we got one of the, I think that's the Thomas Drouet car that's been handed over.
What a mess.
Yeah. Those were teammates clashing, and unfortunately Igor Valilko has been spat to the outside of the circuit between turn 8 and turn 9. 3 into 2 did not work, and I have to say Valilko was the innocent party in that.
Well, he got the benefit into turn 8, and he was the other two cars. Yes, indeed, the sister car didn't see that Valilko was on the outside as they came up into turn 9.
So that was Casper Stevenson who was involved in that, and Igor Valilko, his teammate, who went off now, just watching with the car on the outside of the circuit. Right, the gap between first and second, 11.5 seconds between Charles Weerts and Timo Bogoslawski. I always let people know because we may yet get a safety car with that car off at the side of the circuit. Casper Stevenson able to continue under his steam. Charles Weerts still charging around in this race, just happily knocking out laps low 1:33s. That is why the advantage keeps stretching. This Team WRT Audi, it's got great balance. All the Audis look good here at Misano, but you know, just such a brilliant drive from the pair of them. Dries van Tor, who started, there he is, he's through turn 11 before Timo Bogoslawski in second place comes through into turn 10.
Yes, and I mean, the Acutis ASP Mercedes team are not really worrying about what Charles Weerts is doing. All they need to keep an eye on is Simonauer and 33 Audi, who 2.5 seconds the last lap around, just want to see what that gap, if it remains the same. With just 11 minutes of the race remaining, so don't want Bogoslawski to think it's a done deal. Big cloud of dust behind us, and that's coming down into turn 13. Didn't see what the action was, but certainly enough to kick up a big plume of gravel dust.
Yeah, that was quite intriguing. Right, I just want to point out the point situation. Coming into this second race at Misano, 93 points of Van Tor and Weerts, and Bogoslawski and Marcello 7 points down. But if they finish as they are, to be another 4.5 points gained, which would be a really big advantage for them.
Yeah, I think the plume of dust we saw might have been from Lorenzo Petresi in the number 12 Dresser by Car Collection Audi. We need to get that confirmed, but that's the word we're getting from the gallery as we go back to this battle between Rossi now in 5th position and Jules Gounod in 6th. So there's the 20
seconds. Well, full course yellow in 20 seconds is the announcement from race control. And that is, we think John picked that up, the dust in the background at turn 13. And certainly Lorenzo Petresi's car dropped down the order. He was running that excellent 5th place. Now 5th place is Valentino Rossi. There is Petresi. There is the famous white and blue stripy helmet. The 16-year-old walking away. The tyre wall has done its job. Clearly, he's run down the side of that, ripped all the belting off the front.
Yeah, that's the we see him. Oh, and that's a pretty big Yeah, and hits the front of the car pretty heavily into that, 90 degrees into the belting and the tyres. So that's going to take some time to get the car recovered. We're only 9 minutes of this race remaining. And whether they will replace the belting or whether the tyre wall itself will need to be rebuilt, well, that was an unexpected. We don't know the reason for that incident. We just saw the car more or less heading straight off racetrack, and Lorenzo Patrese very much sitting there as a passenger.
Well, 11.5 seconds was the gap between Charles Weerts and Timo Bogoslawski. If it comes to a safety car, that will bunch the field up. But Charles Weerts just looks supreme in that number 32 Team WRT Audi, and he may be heading for, get this, a 7th consecutive Misano win. No, not 7th consecutive, I beg your pardon. 7 out of the last 8 outings here at Misano across from 2019 onwards. So the Valle fans have... They're celebrating his rise to 5th position. They've got the bright yellow
incident 86-87 159
in the sky.
under
Under
investigation.
Consideration now as well out on the circuit. So we'll listen. There may be some drivers getting pinged for offences, but the clock, John, continues to count down. It doesn't stop during a full course yellow.
No, and it's only 8.5 minutes of this race remaining, and we've got to yet recover the Audi of Patrese, and then again with the damage to the belting on the tyre wall. How that will be dealt with will be, of course, in the hands of the circuit organisation. As we see, well, Charles Weerts has got that massive advantage, but of course, once the safety car is deployed, assuming it is deployed before time runs out, only 8 minutes remaining, then the rest of the field, led by Thomas Bogoslawski, will be on the tail of the 32 Audi.
Right, the message I just heard was the incident involving those 2 Mercedes from Acodis ASP, which left Igor Valilko in the 86 car off at the side of the circuit, the 87 sister car, Casper Stevenson, and also Maldonado, Manuel Maldonado. We saw one of those 2 Garage 59 McLarens, and it was his that was involved in that battle. But Stevenson and Maldonado continued in 14th and 15th, but for Igor Valilko, he feels the aggrieved party there in race control may think that he has a point.
I think he does.
In his favour.
I think he does. I mean, he made a clean pass up the inside as we look at the number 12 Audi being craned away. So maybe more superficial, but it was a fairly major hit. I mean, you're coming off the quickest part of the racetrack, and I don't know what the problem was. I just caught the big plume of gravel dust going up, and then the word came through that it was the number 12 Audi that had gone off the racetrack.
Well, it was a good spot because at the time you spotted it, we were looking at a camera angle from turn 1, looking up the start-finish straight to turn 16, but in the background is turn 13. But the tyre wall did precisely what it's required to do to stop the car going any further. It may be relatively superficial, but I think, did he just run too deep into that third of the kinks down the run to turn 14, get his wheels on the painted tarmac and just not have any grip? We do not know. But for Patrese, he's learnt as he's going.
Well, it's
an unusual one, John.
Yeah, I mean, we can sit here and second guess what it might have been. I mean, let's look and see if the camera's just panning around to.
Well, he's certainly locked up there, John. So the car.
That was yes.
How would you read that, John? He looks so he's just getting.
Oh, something came off the back of the car. Aside.
Yeah, then it started going to the left a little bit.
So this is back under full course yellow conditions. So. We'll no doubt find out very quickly from the team what the issue was, if it was a mechanical issue, whether it was an electronic issue, because these cars, of course, run ABS brakes, and drivers are accustomed now to racing with ABS as opposed to the old school where you had a brake pedal, which was a bit like pushing a foot against a brick wall, but only manual aid.
Right, should we go, John, to safety car? We're still at full course yellow. Between the race leader, Charles Weerts, and Timo Bogoslawski, there will be that red Ferrari,
added to the final
the 52 car, Andrea Bertolini.
Car 87 and 159 causing a collision.
Okay, Casper Stevenson and Manuel Maldonado, 10 seconds will be added to their race time at the end for causing that collision that left the 86 Mercedes off at the side of the circuit and out of the race.
Correct call. Correct call. So we've got 5 minutes remaining. Now the car has been, the number 12 Audi has been removed. Any other work that's been carried out on the safety, the tyre bales and the binding that sits in front of it? Well,
right, we've gone, John, we've gone.
Okay, hold on.
There's the penalty. We've gone to safety car. You could suddenly see Charles Weerts going, right, it's no longer full course yellow, take the speed limiter off and close in on the safety car. But look, the clock's at 4.5 minutes remaining. Raffaele Marcello, is in the pits. He'll be watching Timo Bogoslawski, who's got to catch up with Charles Weerts, but there's one car between them. It's the 52 Ferrari in the Prime class, Louis Michiel's the wheel. This is the replay from the rear shot of Igor Veluko being given a big squeeze, John.
Yeah, well, he had done the pass, and then just the McLaren was caught in the middle, so it was actually squeezed by Casper Stevenson on the outside. So we're going to see repeats and repeats and repeats. But anyway, the Mercedes, well, Elko was the innocent party in that, and consequently the other two players have got a time penalty added to their race finish time.
And I suppose with the safety car, it means other cars behind them will close right onto the tail, so more cars will get elevated. The next car in the line, when that 10-second penalty applied, will be Eddie Cheever, so the 93 Sky Tempesta Racing Mercedes will pick up.
So lights are still on the safety car, so it's not coming in this lap. So the safety car wants the field to get bunched up, to get into position. They're still coming down the back straight, so normally the safety car will run at a quicker pace than the full course yellow pace is permitted. But it's, I think, one more lap, you might get 2/3 of the field all in line.
Safety car in this lap.
That means we'll have one racing lap. We had a Lamborghini Super Trofeo race this just before this, and they had a similar situation. Didn't quite get to restart. Now it's quite a big gap, and you really need Jules Gounon if he wants to pass Valentino Rossi. He's got to use this lap to get right on his tail. In behind is the leader in the Silver Cup class, Thomas Neubauer, and the way he races, he might fancy if he can get close, he can advance yet more. But for Charles Weerts, he's sitting with a cushion. There's Louis Michiels between him and Timo Bogoslawski. And you know what? Who's in third place? Jean-Baptiste Simonau looking for a really good result here. But if he can turn third into second and upset Timo Bogoslawski by passing him, then that will get double bonus points in the Team WRT garage.
Oh yes, no doubt. But now we're saying pretty much the lead bunch, certainly the top 10 of the car, are now more or less nose to tail. So when we come down to the, well, that was an interesting little move. When we come down to safety car peeling off into pit lane entry, then we ought to be able to get it. And of course, Charles Weerts is going to control the point at which he gets back on the throttle, but he has to wait until the safety car has peeled off. It's just exited out of turn 10 onto the back straight, and Charles Weerts just weaving around just to again build up the tire temperature, tire pressures, making sure everything feels as it did. So what has happened to Manuel Maldonado? Has he got a problem, or is he going to... Looks to me like that car isn't going to go an awful lot further.
No, we saw the sister car that's leading the Prime class, Miguel Ramos, fly past, and well, maybe Manuel Maldonado is so upset that he's got a 10-second penalty that he's decided he's not going to race hard at all. But clearly that car has a problem. You wouldn't otherwise back it off by that much. So 1.5 minutes remain on the clock, but the important thing is the safety car excuse me, will be peeling off into the pit lane. In fact, he's backed it up so much, Charles Weerts, that this just one final racing lap. They've managed to squeak it in, and it's controlled at the start, and that Ferrari is the one in between.
Louis Michiels is the car that will have to step aside.
I thought I saw Michiels' hand out to the window to indicate that he wants to do something. He doesn't want to obstruct this race, but Charles Weerts, perfect restart, and Timo Bogoslawski actually hanging back a little too far, was caught napping there.
So the Ferrari just pulls over to the left-hand side of the racetrack, lets this race-leading battle, top 4 cars all get through. But Gounon dived down the inside. Did he make a pass on Rossi?
He did. He got past Rossi into turn 1. The Ferrari of Louis Michiels might have been slightly in the way in front of them. First 4 are nice, clear. Who's going to come through in 5th? It's still Rossi. He held on. Obviously got back ahead into turn 2. Nip and tuck, but it's far from over. And Thomas Neubauer is being given a rub, and that's Alex Acker, who's getting very close in the Silver Cup class. We'll have to focus on the front. It looks like the McLaren in the background. Vincent Abril got a bit of body damage as well.
I think Thomas Neubauer got outmaneuvered really in that opening 3-corner sequence. So that's not been good. And again, I was certain that that was a pass by Jules Gounon, but good on Valentino Rossi, who used his instinctive racing skills as the battle behind. Look at Simonau and Simon Gachet up the inside. So Gachet on a little hip and shoulder as they come through turn 10. So he's gained that 3rd position. And we're now racing to the checkered flag.
Racing to the checkered flag with a clear advantage for Charles Weerts. Timo Bogoslawski just a little bit too far back at the restart. Yes, the Ferrari was between them, but Louis Michiels pulled out the way. But Charles Weerts, well, he's just been absolutely superb at this meeting. And this will be a 7th consecutive win for his pairing here. His first ever win in the Sprint Series was here in 2019, and that is 7 from 8 runs here. Victory for Weerts and Vantor. Round the final corner he goes. And look at the gap back to Timo Bogoslawski, and then the excellent Simon Gachet up into 3rd place ahead of Jean-Baptiste Simonin. And 5th place has been secured. A new target achieved for Valentino Rossi.
Excellent performance, and Rossi will get out of the car. He will have a smile on his face because he knows he will have done a good job here this afternoon for himself, for his team, but most of all for all the fans of Valentino Rossi that are present here at Misano, for those in Italy and for those around the world who are cheering on this hero to see him achieve greater and greater success.
Yeah, I mean, he'd have been delighted with 5th place if it was achieved just in a regular race, but under all that pressure from Jules Gounon, no less, he didn't crack, and that really fierce challenge as the safety car released them for that final lap, and he resisted it. He fought hard. We saw the yellow nose of the Mercedes go ahead, and yet, by the exit of turn 2, start of turn 3, Valentino had hung on.
Yes, I mean, the camera angle we caught, just that fraction of a glimpse, it looked as if Gounon had got the job done, but Rossi denied it and kept his car in 5th position, and a proper race to the flag.
Absolutely so, and Pierre-Alexandre Jean in that sort-out. Thomas Neuerbauer got it wrong, and Pierre-Alexandre and his teammate Ulysses Dupont, who led the Silver Cup class from the start of the race, they'd fallen back down the order, but when it counted, the Ferrari crew got it right. So well done to Pierre-Alexandre Jean. But full marks still to Thomas Neubauer for trying so hard. And between them, Alex Acker squeezed up to 2nd in the Silver Cup class. In the Pro-Am class, it was Miguel Ramos, the 188 Garage 59 McLaren, who took victory in class from Louis Michels, and the only other runner in the class didn't make it to the finish. That was the 111 McLaren of Norbert Siedler. So looking down the race order at the end, yet another win, a 7th in 8 starts at Misano for Charles Weerts and Dries Vantor. Timo Bogoslawski brought the Mercedes number 89 home in 2nd place, but that was consolidation for them. Then Christopher Haase and Simon Gachet showing that the Tracer by Car Collection team is a force to be reckoned with as it develops through its maiden season. Jean-Baptiste Simonin brought home the car, started by Christopher Mies. So 3 Audis in the top 4 positions, but the Audi that most people watching here at Misano, Fred Vervies started it, Valentino Rossi finished it, and it's 5th place, the best result for that duo in Rossi's inaugural season, full season. He's done a handful of races before in GTs, but this is his first full attack, and he will have loved that. And the fans around the circuit certainly will be waving with vigour as he drives the car back into Parc Fermé. So a great race here, but we always knew, John, it looked very, very strong for Audis. We always knew that Dries Vantor and Charles Weerts just seemed to have this circuit with a handle.
Yes, we knew all that, but you know, you have to be positive. You've got to live in hope that maybe something's going to occur that's going to give principally the 89 Mercedes the opportunity, whatever, to get on terms with the Audi family. It's not just the 32 cars, Audis, or wherever you look.
It certainly is. So Dries Vantor goes out. I think he can't close the door. I think the Ferrari wing mirror doesn't allow. There's been a collision in Parc Fermé. So now there's just enough space for the taller figure of Charles Weerts to step out and start to cool down. A little applause there. Nice pat on the shoulder from Raffaele Marcello, who'd already cooled down, having done the first stint in the chasing 89 Acodis ASP Mercedes. But, you know, there was nothing he could do. And for Charles Weerts, in the end, he had to just control that restart. Did it very, very nicely, John. Just 1 lap to cover to the finish. The overtaking was happening behind him. He didn't let anyone get close enough to challenge. And for Dries Vantor and Charles Weerts, well, absolutely fantastic. Let's go down and hear from them in Parc Fermé. They know how to win here. They've talked about winning many times, but Gemma has caught up with the pair.
Are you just checking that these guys have got insurance for the Ferrari there?
No, it was Hazy. But at the start we had some words, and well, I kept to my words. So I mean, yeah.
You're not going to tell us what those words were?
I just told them I'd check out at the start. So yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. Good stint, good start. Great job by the team all weekend. The car's been phenomenal, especially on long runs. I think that's where really our strongest point is. I think on 1 lap pace we are. I mean, it's close with everyone, with all the Audis and probably the Mercs. But on a long run, I think we can really stretch our legs, and I think that's what we did this weekend.
Absolutely. I mean, a fantastic weekend, and your first pole in quite a while. So you're pleased with that, I know. Charles, of course, that closing stint quite difficult with that safety car right at the end, but bringing it home.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Dries gave me a nice lead, so I mean, I still had to push to make sure yeah, we never know what can happen, and we saw here with the safety car. And yeah, it was always a bit of excitement with the safety car in the last lap. But yeah, anyway, the car was really good, like Dries said. We did a good pit stop also, no mistake. So yeah, bring it on.
Next stop, Spa, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Well done, lads.
Well, it may just be a few degrees cooler when we go to the rolling hills of the Ardennes. Just noticed that car 99 and number 30 are under investigation. That'll be the last lap sort out in the Silver Cup. Pierre-Alexandre Jean got ahead, but Alex Acker in 99 Audi and Thomas Neubauer maybe just got a little too close together. But smiles all round up there. There's Miguel Ramos and Dean McDonald. Victory in the Pro-Am Cup for them, with their McLaren still looking neat and tidy in the background.
We had that strange moment where that car pulled over coming out of turn 16 and just seemed to lose momentum. But anyway, they've achieved their goal and they've won their class, and that's what they came here to do.
Yeah, and the sister car, Manuel Maldonado, peeled off into the pits, so didn't actually finish the race. That's where we saw the change of positions between the two Garage 59 McLarens, but nobody had an answer to the pace of Charles. But we talked, well, victory in the Silver Cup class with the last lap sort out comes to the golden lining, because it means Ulysses de Pauw and Pierre-Alexandre are champions in Silver Cup, and they're with Gemma.
Boys, a fantastic race result, and that now makes you Silver Cup champions. Does that sink in yet?
I don't think so. We are so proud. I'm so proud of PA. I'm so proud of the team. We've had such a tough weekend. We struggled a lot with the pace, but we've been there all season long. 8 races in the points, 8 races in the podium, always on the overall top 10. And it's paying off now as we are already champion with one round to go. So it's amazing. Huge thanks to everyone, and I'm so proud.
You should be proud. You guys have been shining the whole season.
Yeah, first title in GT3. Even we still have a lot to do. We take it, and we are very happy with it. The team did a brilliant job, my teammate also. Yeah, we are on a good momentum. We need to keep this, and I'm so happy. Big thank you to all my sponsors, all the team, to everybody. That restart was quite nice. I was happy about it. So yeah, keep pushing and eyes on the future.
Absolutely, you're champions. Well done, guys.
Thank you.
Well, the very essence of the Silver Cup is to bring on young drivers. Pierre-Alexandre Jean, 21, and Ulysses de Pauw, just 20. That's what the championship is for, but they have struggled this weekend, and yet, right at the end of the sort-out, they had a victory with which to clinch the championship.
Yeah, I mean, quite simply, whether you can get your car dialed in or not, but they did what they had to do and won their category and won the championship.
Well, looking at the highlights from the start, it was Dries van Tor. He said he was going to send it, and he did precisely that. In fact, his words were he was going to check out. Bit messy behind. You can see the McLaren spun round. That was Norbert Siedler. Short race, and that meant the safety car came out. It slowed them all down, and we got going again. Brilliant little race with Albert Costa, having a great deal of fun. Now he's back in the pack, fighting with Fred Verviche. Then there was a bit of shoulder rubbing. 99 and 30, they were to get together later in the race as well. Then it came to the time of the pit stop. Benji Goethe, one of the first drivers in. And up front, though, it was all nice. Nice exit from the pit lane there. Certainly Thomas Neubauer showing intent as he took over. But the 32 car came in and handed over to Charles Weerts. He came back out onto the circuit. But Valentino Rossi gave the fans something to cheer. His Audi a little bit damaged when he took it over, but he had Jules Gounon behind. We didn't know if he could resist, and it was an enthralling battle. But as the laps went on and on and on, it was clear that Valentino was racing at a level he hasn't done before. And then an unfortunate moment, 2 teammates clashing. Manuel Maldonado in the background, but unfortunately for Luca, he was out of the race. And then Lorenzo Patrese, strange incident at turn 13. That brought out full course yellow. Then it became a safety car moment, and when the field was released, Charles Weerts took off like a scalded cat. Timo Bogoslawski got past the Ferrari into second place on the road, and behind it was really tough, and Simon Gachet diving up the inside of Jean-Baptiste Simonauer to take third place out between turns 4 and 5. But with the final lap coming to completion, the hour coming to completion, yet another win for Charles Weerts and Dries van Tor here at Misano. So delight in the Team WRT pit, and also with Rossi of Verviche in fifth. The joy was unbounded. And now to the podium ceremonies. 3 classes, of course. We've got the outright, we've got the silver and the pro-am honours to celebrate.
And this, first of all, is for the mechanics who did the fastest stop. The team that did the fastest stop was on the 89 car. It was a Codis ASP, 1 minute 3.8 seconds. So they get the honours for that. And it's good. For a long time, John, we've always talked about Team WRT being super fast in the pit stops, but Codis ASP today showing that they've been getting closer and closer, and sometimes they're faster. Today, they took the prize.
Well, because the competition is so intense and close on the racetrack, the place that's open to improvement is within the pit lane. That's what WRT have done season upon season, and Codis ASP have done something over the last couple of races to ensure that their pit stops are matching, if not exceeding those, for the opposition, and the benefit of it is they get a presentation and an award.
So now we're waiting for the top 3 finishers to be brought out in reverse order onto the podium for the second of the 2 races here at Misano. It's been hot. They've all worked incredibly hard indeed. It would have been a hugely hot environment in their cars, but the racing was intense. And Simon Gachet and Christopher Haase. Christopher started the Tracer car collection, number 11 Audi. And Simon Gachet finished and took the 3rd place on that final lap. Second place, Timo Bogoslawski and Raffaele Marciello. Not smiles all round, but actually at the end of the day, it was damage limitation, John, so they could be pleased.
Absolutely. They've got the maximum in reality they could have expected. Job done and move on.
And welcome to the podium, the winners yet again, the 7th time in the last 8 races here at Misano. It's their circuit for Team WRT. Dries van Tor and Charles Weerts onto the top step, stretching their championship advantage. So as the strains of the Belgian national anthem for Team WRT move away, just interesting, John, to notice that Raffaele Marciello is looking actually remarkably happy. He normally doesn't like coming second, but today he realised his second was as high as he could finish, and quipping a few little jokes with Timo. Yeah, and I think he's also congratulating Timo Bogoslawski for doing a strong job to get the car into second place, because that was, you know, ultimately that was the best they could expect outside of 32 having a technical problem and not being able to finish. So they're delighted with that second place. So another trophy for Team WRT on the top steps, and the winners' trophies will come out for Dries van Tor and Charles Weerts. Getting quite a collection. Sort of feel they need to build a bigger trophy room at Team WRT for all these trophies, and certainly Misano has been such a happy hunting ground for them. It's been a busy handful of days, and the greatest bit of mercy has the huge temperatures of Friday, where it was 35 degrees. They came down by 3 or 4 degrees yesterday. Today seems about the same as Saturday here, but 35 degrees for the race would have been absolutely hideous for all concerned. Yeah, I mean, it's unexpectedly hot right now over Southern Europe, that heat plume, and of course just the whole region is a whole holiday region. You've got Misano, the racetrack itself, and then you've got the city or the town of Cattolica, which is happy holiday time. Absolutely is. So right, the advantage was just half a point for Weerts and van Tor when they arrived here over Bogoslawski and Marciello, but their 2 great results plus those bonus points for pole positions have stretched it to 11.5 points. It means if they get a really good win potentially in the first of races at the final round, they may even be able to wrap it up with a race to go. But let's not go there. It's a stretched advantage. They've gained 11 points in their advantage over the chasing Bogoslawski and Marciello. Jim Pla up so far back in 3rd place, but of course they struggled. Him and Jules Gugnon worked their way back from the back of the pack up to the points, but not the sharp end of the points table. And now we go back to the podium for the Silver Cup celebrations. Bear in mind the crews that came 2nd and 3rd in class are under investigation, so I'm interested to see if they will be called up, who will be called up. And it's the number 30 crew
Benjamin Goethe and Thomas Neubauer, so strong this weekend. Yesterday they finished third overall, so that was a remarkable result. With Benjamin Goethe really resisting fierce challenge through the closing laps. Second place, the 99 crew from Attempto Racing, Nicolas Scholl and Alex Acker. And it smiles all round. It's the champions in the Silver Cup, the winners here today. Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysses de Pauw, AF Corsa Ferrari crew. Happiness encapsulated.
Yes, you can see very happy pair of drivers indeed. And Pierre-Alexandre Jean, when he was talking in the interview, I thought he's still breathless, or maybe it's just an emotional reaction.
So very, very happy. A Belgian and a French driver up on the top step of the podium. But the Italian national anthem for AF Corsa. Matteo Braga, who's been very busy, racing activities manager for Pirelli, awards the trophies to the third place crew. Benjamin Goethe and closer to us, Thomas Neubauer. Now over to the far side to Alex Acker and Nicolas Scholl. Second place for them for Attempto Racing in their Audi. But it was a Ferrari that took victory, the AF Corsa Ferrari that qualified so well for both races. And today it started from 6th on the grid, and at the end, with that last lap sort out, came through to take victory. Team representative being waved up by Pierre-Alexandre Jean to share the top step with him and his fellow Silver Cup champion for 2022, Ulysses de Pauw. So the celebrations, I think, at AF Corsa, they've struggled this weekend, but right at the end they came through. Looked as though they were going to head to the final round with a good points advantage, but the championship clinched in the Silver Cup for the young guns. So you can see how clear the delight is. And time for the champagne. That will certainly be very dramatic indeed. And apparently the 159 McLaren we saw pull off, it was a power issue right at the end. And that was Maldonado pulling off just as the safety car withdrew with that final lap sprint to the finish. But the cheers and the whoops clear to be heard up on the podium for our Silver Cup champions for 2022. They cannot be overtaken. 121 points. And second in today's race, Nicolas Scholl and Alex Acker. Well, they're the best of the rest, but they're that distance behind. And so just can't quite challenge, even if they take 2 victories in the final races at the final round. Thomas Drouet and Casper Stevenson in the fight for second place. It was pretty close. Thomas Neubauer and Benjamin Goethe, they were really nowhere in the Silver Cup Championship, but 2 strong results for them this weekend has propelled them right into that mix to at least finish second in the championship if they keep their noses clean. Still a bright, warm afternoon at the circuit. Marco Simoncelli just in from the Adriatic coast on the eastern flank of Italy. And now we're looking to the Pro-Am podium. And the winners coming out, Garage 59 and Miguel Ramos and Dean McDonald to the top step of the podium. They are the winners, the team representative from Garage 59 with them. They will have the trophies presented to them. Second place in class went to Louis Michiels and Andrea Bertolini. And no other finishers because Patrick Kropinski and Norbert Siedler out on the opening lap. So the British National Anthem for Garage 59 rings out, and for Misano 2022 it is very nearly a wrap. Trophy to the team, and the trophies will come out to the drivers. Miguel Ramos on the far side and Dean McDonald on the near side, and they've driven very well all a meeting, it must be said, in their Garage 59 McLaren. Handshakes from Matteo Braga, and the last trophies of the 2022 meeting have been presented for the Fanatec GT World Challenge. It's been tight, it's been twisty, it's been incredibly hot, but enthralling racing, John Watson.
I mean, I love Misano. I love coming to this part of Italy. The town we're staying in is like a scene out of a Federico Fellini movie. It's just unbelievable. And it all drifts in from the beach onto the racetrack when they're racing. But maybe the key ultimately has been that fine 5th position for Valentino Rossi. I gather from the pit lane he's over the moon with his drive. He really felt that he became a race driver today, having driven race cars over the previous round. So a great result for everybody, particularly for Valentino Rossi and for Misano.
Right, so Audi, second place in the championship, starting to close in on Mercedes, who's leading. That's including now 4 rounds of the Sprint Series and 2 rounds of the Endurance Series. The next time the cars go racing, as John pointed out earlier, is for 24 hours at Spa-Francorchamps. The weather hopefully will not be as hot as it is here, but a lot of people have things to consider. But I'm delighted, particularly for Valentino Rossi. John, it was joining the dots. He had the various elements, but today, under pressure from Jules Gagne, he got it right. But this race meeting belonged to Charles Weerts and Dries van Toor yet again. They've stretched their advantage in the championship. It's going to be super, super exciting, but we all know that Spa 24 Hour has different weather. It could throw a curveball, but that's it from us at Misano.